Hey everyone, welcome back to another video in React Native. So in this video, we'll be building a full stack admin panel dashboard in React Native using MongoDB as the backend. So if you find this interesting, please do the like button and do subscribe for more such content. So let's get started. So here basically we're trying to build an admin panel for a doctor consultation app. So whatever is the basic required things that are required to set this up, we're going to implement that. So as you can see in the home screen, we just have a basic minimum design which has a couple of options, that is to add a doctor or add a clinic, and below that we have some design to show all of the doctors, show all of the clinics added, and show all of the, and below that we also have the appointments part. Okay, so here basically we would be able to add a doctor, we would be able to add a clinic, and while adding a doctor we would also be able to specify which clinic that particular doctor is practicing in. Okay, so let's press on add a doctor over here. We would be navigated to a new screen, that is this one. So these are some of the required details for creating a doctor. So we need to enter the image, your name, the study of the doctor, the experience, the specialization, and the clinics practicing in. So let's say once you add a bunch of clinics with the help of the other button, and once you start typing the clinics over here, you would be getting some suggestions that is in the form of a drop down, and once you press on that automatically that particular clinic would be added to this particular doctor. So now let's type in some clinic over here. So let's say I'm going to type in A over here. As you can see, as soon as I typed A, we have all of these suggestions over here. So these are all of the clinics that are already added in the backend part. Okay, so based on any clinic you press, let's say Asta CMI, as you can see, this hospital is added to this particular doctor. So once you enter all of these details and press on add doctor, this doctor would be successfully added. So now let's check out the doctors part. So this would again show a basic simple design of all of the doctors that are added with the help of this screen. So let's press on doctors over here. So as you can see, we have all of the doctors that are added previously, and we just have some basic information regarding them, that is their user image, their specialization, that is either general physician, cardiologist, etc., their experience, their education, as well as the clinics. So here we are trying to show the clinic ID over here. Okay, all right, and doctor can have more than one clinic as well, that is a doctor can be a part of more than one clinic as well. Okay, so if you press on this, you'll be navigated to the next part, that is your doctor info screen, and here you can also change the information regarding the doctor, that is the edit method. So here you can also make the change for the name. So let's say over here we have Dr. Pooja Bhatt, you remove the second name, that is Bhatt, and then you press on save doctor. This would go back to the previous screen, and then it should be saved over here. So we'll be implementing that as well. And furthermore, we also have the clinics part. So as I explained, let's press on add a clinic. So here we're also going to take care of the slots for the particular clinic. So the way this works is you're going to search for a particular clinic that is nearby to your place, because we implemented the Google Places autocomplete. So let's say I search for a clinic. I'm going to say Asta CMI Hospital, and I'm going to press on this. So once I press on this hospital, all of the required details for the clinic are going to be placed over here. So as you can see, we do have all of the required details, that is the phone number, the website, the images of the hospital, and all of these details. So below that you can configure the slots for the hospital. So you can configure the slots for, let's say, the next 15 days or for the next 30 days. As you can see, we have the days at the top part, and if you want to close the clinic for a particular day, you can toggle this button off. And below that we have 3 slots, that is your morning slots, afternoon slots, and as well as the evening slots. So you can close any slot and you can open any slot. So let's say if you want to close it on Monday, that is March 24th, I'm going to just toggle this. As you can see, the entire slots have been closed on Monday. So once you press on save slots, as you can see, success, slots for Monday, March 24th have been saved. So at a stretch, you can add the slots, that is whatever slots the clinic wants, and then you can go to the next slot. You can do this for, let's say, for the 15 days, and then you can again come back and do this. So let's say for Tuesday, I'm going to keep everything as is. I'm going to say save slots. Okay, similarly for Wednesday, I'm going to say I'm going to remove evening. I just want it to be morning and afternoon. So I'm going to keep this toggle on, and remaining I'm going to keep it as toggle off. I'm going to say save slots. So similarly, do it for the next 10 or 15 days, how many ever days the clinic wants to add it beforehand. And once you press on add clinic, automatically this clinic would be added to the backend part. Okay, it's pretty simple. So now let's head over to the clinics part. So here, as you can see, we have all of the clinics added. So here again, it's a basic minimalistic design showing the image, the clinic name, the phone number and website if available, as well as the address of the clinic. And once any user books an appointment, it is going to be shown over here. Currently there are no appointments at this particular point of time. Here just I've written the numbers, just that is hard coded. Okay, and over here in the appointments part, if and only if your clinic, that is as of now you yourself are the admin for the application, if you accept that appointment, then only a notification will be sent to the user. Otherwise it would be in the pending state itself. Okay, so we're going to implement this basic simple admin panel dashboard in React Native using MongoDB as a backend for a doctor consultation app. So if you find this interesting, please do the like button and let's get started with the project right away. So now the first step is to create a fresh new React Native project. So let's go do that. So currently I've just opened up my VS Code over here, and towards the right side I've just opened up iOS simulator. So now let's create our fresh new project. So for that I've just opened up my terminal. I'm gonna go into my build folder where all of my projects are present, and here I'm gonna execute the command that is npx add react native community CLI init my app, and then I'm going to use a specific version that is 0.76. So you can change your app name to whatever project name you want to. So in this case I'm just gonna name it as, let's say, Practo clone, something like this. Yeah, so now I'm just gonna press on enter over here. So this is my project name. You can give any project name you want to, and let's press on enter. So as you can see, it is downloading the template and it should initialize our project directory for us where all of the different files are present. And once it is initialized, we're gonna open that particular folder and then check out the source code or the initial file tree. So let's give it a couple of minutes to initialize our project for us. Alright, so here it's asking, do you want to install Cocoa Pods now? So by default the option would be set to no. So I'm just gonna press on enter over here. Okay, so there you go, it has created our project for us, and it has also given us the steps for running on Android as well as the steps for running on iOS. So these are the steps for running on Android. Initially you need to have an Android emulator running, and then you just need to go into your project directory, that is with the help of this statement, and then you need to run npx react native run Android. Whereas these are your steps for iOS, you need to go into your project directory and then furthermore go into your iOS folder, execute or install your Cocoa pod. So for that we need to execute bundle install and then bundle exec pod install, and then we need to come back to your project directory and then we need to execute npx react native run iOS. So let's do that. So since I am on iOS simulator, I'm going to follow these steps. So for Android directly you can run this particular command, it should work out. So now let's first of all head over to the project directory. I'm going to say file and then open folder. I'm going to go into my build folder over here, and then I'm going to choose the first one, that is Practo clone. So as you can see, this is the initial file tree that React Native has given us once when we initialize a fresh new React Native project. So here let's first of all make use of JavaScript. We're going to work with JS. So here I'm just going to rename it to JS, and you can actually delete the tsconfig file, and within the app.js you can remove the necessary changes, or you can do a kind of cleanup. So let's remove this and even this as well. Yeah, so that's it. Let's try to save the file. I'm gonna press on terminal, new terminal. So here I'm gonna first of all go into my iOS folder and I'm gonna say bundle install, enter. So as you can see, it's installing all of the required dependencies. So let's give it a couple of minutes to execute this. Yeah, I think it's done. So the next step is we need to do bundle exec pod install. So enter. So let's wait for this command to finish executing. It's gonna take in a couple of minutes. Alright, so even this is completed. So now I'm just gonna do a pod install over here, and then I'm gonna go back to the project directory and then run my project. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Yeah, so this is done. Again, open up a new terminal over here, and here I'm just gonna say npx react native run iOS. Let's press on enter. So this should basically open up your launch package or command prompt, which is something like this, and it should give you about 4 or 5 options to open up your applications. I mean, basically 2 options, and these are the other 3 options. So they've given run on iOS and then run on Android. So since in this case we are on iOS simulator, I'm gonna press on I. So for Android users, you can press on A, and pretty much it should install the application onto your simulator or emulator. So they should take about 5 to 10 minutes depending upon your network. So it's going to install a particular application, and then it should automatically load onto your simulator. So once the application is loaded, whatever is present inside of your app.js, that is basically inside of your return block, that is this one, that is going to be displayed onto the simulator. So let's give it some time, let's say about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you should be able to see the app running onto the simulator. Alright, so as you can see towards the right hand side, we're able to see the output that is being shown onto the screen. So basically whatever is there inside of your return block, the same thing is being displayed to the right side of the part. So if I would change anything over here, the same changes would be applied towards the output as well. So let's say I'm going to remove this one which says edit app.tsx. I'm going to remove the entire section and then save. Okay, so for some reason the refresh is not working. I'm just going to try to reload my app. So as you can see, whenever I try to save, it's not showing the save button over here. I'm just going to say reload. Okay, not sure why it is not even reloading as well. So yeah, now it worked actually. I'm not sure why it took a couple of seconds. Yeah, so as you can see, now initially edit was present, that particular section. So now as I removed it over here in the code, even towards the right hand side it was removed. So yeah, that's how it's going to work. So now let's actually look into the design part to check how exactly we are going to build it. So initially we're going to focus on building the admin panel or the admin side, which basically consists of adding a doctor, viewing the doctors, and then adding a clinic, and then viewing those clinics, and then checking out all of the appointments that is done by the user. Okay, it's pretty simple and basic. So this is your initial screen, and this is a screen to add a doctor, and this is the screen to add a clinic, where all of the slots of the clinic can be configured as well. And this is basically the UI for configuring your slots. Let's say we have 3 slots: morning slots, afternoon slots, and then evening slots. Under these 3 slots we have basically these timings with, let's say, 30 minutes for a session. Okay, that's being displayed over here. And these are your show clinics once we add a clinic, and these are all of your doctors. Okay, so this is your basic design for your admin panel or the admin side part. We'll be implementing this. So let's get started with your navigation part. Okay, let's initialize that. I'm also going to initialize the navigation for the entire application, that is even for the user side as well, at once. So let's head over to Chrome over here once, and I'm going to search for, let's say, React navigation over here, the first link. I'm going to press on the first link over here as well, Redux. And here, let's come down over here, and I'm going to use yarn over here. So I'm going to copy this code, that is React navigation /native. Let's try to install it over here. Let's press on enter. And while this is installing, let's scroll down. So we need to also install screens as well as safe area context. So since we are using a React Native project, let's make use of this piece of code. And yeah, so this is still running, I guess. After this completes, we're going to install this one. Alright, so this is completed. Let's press on this. That is Yana React Native screens as well as React Native safe area context. Yeah, so apart from that, let's move on to Hello React navigation, and then we need to install the native stack. So copy that down. Yeah, even this is completed. Paste it over here. Alright, so we have initialized all of the required things for the React navigation. So now let's initialize our screens. let's initialize few folders for the screens and then components, screens, and let's say components over here. And yeah, apart from that, let's also initialize our navigation folder. Not within that, outside of it. Yeah, so within the navigation, I'm gonna add my stack navigator over here. So let's say stack navigator.js rnfes to get the shorthand code snippet. So to get all of the shorthand code snippets like this, that is for the functional components, you need to have installed ES7 inside your systems. So if you check out your extensions tab in VS Code itself, you can install this one, that is ES7 React Redux and then React native snippets. So make sure you install this and then you should be able to get in all of the shorthand code snippets. Yeah, so let's come back over here and let's come back to the stack navigator.js file. Let's try to save initially. So first of all, let's try to create all of the required screens. So here basically we're gonna have three kinds of stacks. One is your auth stack, one is your main stack where all of the screens for the users are going to be displayed, and one is your admin stack, that is for your admin. That is, as of now, you yourself are the admin for the application. Okay, so let's define all of the screens first. So let's say I'm gonna have my admin screens as well. That is another folder. Here I'm gonna say admin screens. Within this, I'm gonna create all of the screens that are gonna come into the admin part. So initially your dashboard screen, I'm gonna say dashboard or admin dashboard. .js rnfes, save the file. Yeah, so apart from admin dashboard, we're gonna have add doctor. So add doctor.js rnfes to get the shorthand code snippet, save the file. And yeah, apart from add doctor, we're gonna have add clinic.js rnfes, save. And furthermore, we're gonna have doctors where we're gonna show all of the doctors that are added. So doctors.js. And similarly, we're gonna have one for clinic. So I'm gonna say clinics.js. And similarly, we're gonna have for the appointments. So I'm gonna say appointments.js. So we are having the appointments in your admin part, that is in the dashboard part, because if and only if a particular clinic accepts your appointment that is done by any particular user, then only it would be marked as appointment is confirmed for that particular appointment. Otherwise, it would be in a pending state itself. Okay. So yeah, this part is done. So now let's also initialize our screens for, let's say, your users or for your auth stack. Okay. So here I'm going to say login screen .js rnfes to get the shorthand code snippet, save. Apart from login screen, we're going to have user login. This is another part for the login itself, save. And yeah, apart from that, we're going to have your phone number screen .js rnfes, save. Then we have the verification screen, and then we have the account screen. I'm going to say verification screen.js rnfes, and then the next one is going to be your create account screen.js. So rnfes again, save the file. Yeah, so these are your screens for your auth stack. So let's create your only one screen as of now, that is for your main stack. That's going to be your home screen. And once when we complete the admin dashboard and once the login is set up, we're going to add more screens as well. So I'm going to say home screen.js rnfes and then save. Let's initially come back to your stack navigator file. That is this one. So here let's start writing the code. So initially let's initialize our stack. I'm going to say const stack is going to be equals to create native stack navigator, and here we need to get in the token that would come in the later part of the video. So inside of your return block, or before that, let's initialize your stacks. So I'm going to say const auth stack is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. So here I'm going to say return stack dot navigator. So stack dot navigator. Within this, you're going to have all of your stack screens. So let's initialize our first screen. I'm going to say stack.screen. Okay, so this in turn is going to take in the name and the component to render for this particular screen. So in this case, the name is going to be login, and I'm going to say component is going to be equals to your login screen. So make sure to import your login screen from the screens folder, just like this. And we're also going to pass in the options. So we do not want to see the header for any of the screens. So for that reason, I'm going to pass in my options over here, and I'm going to say header shown is going to be equals to false. Format once, and yeah, let's copy that down a couple of times. Let's make the change for the other remaining screens. So furthermore, apart from login, we're going to have your user. So this is going to say user login. Okay, and here we're going to say phone number screen, and here we're going to say verification screen. Let's also change the name as well. So for the third one, it's going to be phone, that's the name. And for this, we're going to have your verification, and for this we're going to have your create. Let's change it over here. Component is going to be create account screen. Okay, let's check if that's the correct spelling. Yeah, that's the correct spelling. Save. Yeah, so this is your entire auth stack. Let's further start coding out the next one. I'm going to say function main stack. So this is shown once when the user is registered and once the user is logged in as well. I'm going to say return. Again, it's going to be similar itself, stack.navigator. Within that, I'm going to say stack.screen. Okay, so here I'm going to say name. For now, we're going to only have one screen over here, and component to render is going to be equals to home screen. So make sure to import home screen from your screens folder, just like this. And yeah, here I'm again going to pass in my options. Here I'm going to say header shown is going to be false. Yeah, so as of now, this is your main stack. Let's further move on to the main thing that we're going to develop in this particular video, that is your admin stack. So I'm going to say function admin stack. So here let's try to return. I'm going to say stack dot navigator. Within that, all of your stack screens, I'm going to say stack dot screen. Yeah, so initially I'm going to pass in my name, that is going to be equals to dashboard. Okay, and I'm going to pass in my component, that is going to be equals to admin dashboard. And again, similarly, I'm going to pass in my options, which says header shown is going to be equals to false. So copy this down a couple of times to initialize for the other screens as well. So after dashboard, the next thing is going to be add doc. Change the component, that is going to be add doctor. The next one is going to be add clinic. And here also make the change which says add clinic. And furthermore, we're going to have clinics over here, or before that we need to show the doctors. So I'm going to say doctors. This is going to say doctors.js. Import that from the screens folder. Furthermore, this is for your next one, that is the clinics part. make the change for the component as well. It's going to be clinics, and for the final one it's going to be appointments. Here I'm going to say appointments and then change the component over here to appointments. Save the file. Yeah, so this is your entire thing. So as of now, let's just initialize your navigation container inside of your return block. So here I'm going to say navigation container, import that from React navigation / native, just like this. Within that, as of now, just show the admin stack. Let's try to format once, save the file. So now the next step is let's try to initialize our vector icons into the application, so that we might require that while designing all of these things. So let's head over to Chrome again, and I'm gonna search for React native vector icons. There is this one. Let's scroll down and let's try to initialize this. So let's install the common package. After that, you're gonna install the packages based on whatever families you want to install. So let's copy this down. Let's come back over here, and I'm just gonna make use of yarn add and then copy this. So yeah, this is installed. So once that is done, we need to install this part, that is your icons with whatever families you're interested in. So I'm just gonna paste in my code for that. So I'm going to install all of these families. So initially it's going to say yarn add React Native vector icons / whatever family names you want. So I've installed, let's say, Andesign, Ntypo, Fontawesome, and many more. Just like this, you can pause for a second and then you can look into this. I'm going to press on enter now. Yeah, so furthermore, we need to, let's say I'm going to press on this React Native, the steps for installing. So once that is done, we need to update our info.plist with all of your icon names, not the icon names, your font names, I guess. And once that is done, do a pod install and then try to rebuild your application. So let's make that change. So I'll just be sending whatever needs to be applied into your iOS folder. So go into your iOS folder, your Practo clone, your project name, info.plist. So just below your false tag, paste this piece of code, okay, which says UI app fonts, and then it contains an array of all of the fonts. Yeah, so that's it. Let's try to save the file. So since we have installed few dependencies, that is for React navigation as well as for your React native vector icons, we need to do a pod install and then we need to rebuild our application. So before that, make sure you import your stack navigator into your main app.js, because we need to render the stack navigator as of now. So let's come back to the app.js, remove everything over here, and I'm just gonna render my stack navigator. So I'm gonna say stack navigator. Let's try to format once and then let's try to save the file. So yeah, over here, first of all, let's do a pod install. Come into iOS directory and then I'm gonna say pod install, enter. So let's wait for this. So as you can see, it's installing React Native screens, safe area context, as well as your React Native vector icons. Yeah, so this step is complete. So let's come back to your terminal and just press on I. So it reloads the app from the very beginning. So once the app loads, since we have rendered the stack navigator, it should show all of your admin screens. So if I would show you my stack navigator over here, we've rendered admin stack over here. So in the admin stack, the first screen is your dashboard. So basically this screen should be loaded once the app loads. So let's give it a couple of minutes. I think it's building it up. So as you can see, the app has been loaded, and as I told you initially, the admin dashboard would be shown. So that's the component which is being shown onto the screen. So now let's get started with the design of the admin dashboard. So basically we have some basic design at the top, and then two boxes over here which says add a doctor and then add a clinic. And then here we have a bunch of designs to show the doctors, show the clinics, and then show all of your appointments. So let's get started with the design of this part. So for that, let's move to our admin dashboard. So here initially I'm gonna start off with my scroll view. Not the scroll view, my safe area view. So make use of the safe area view over here. Safe. Alright, so over here I'm gonna initialize my view within the safe area view. So within this view, I'm gonna have a text which says admin panel dashboard. So save the file. So let's pass on the style over here. So initially I'm going to pass on some padding of 12 and then background color of this color code, that is 28328C, and I'm going to give it a specific height of, let's say, 100, and I'm going to give it justify of center, align items of center. Save. So as you can see, that's looking fine. We're able to see the blue background color being shown onto the screen. So now let's start styling out our text that is present. So I'm going to say style over here. This in turn is going to have a text align of center, and furthermore it's going to have a font size of, let's say, 25, font weight of bold, color is going to be white, and it's going to have a specific width of 300, and letter spacing is going to be 0.6. So yes, as you can see, that's looking nice. Let's try to format once and then let's try to save. Yeah, so now let's furthermore look into the next part of the design. So for that, I'm just going to initialize my another view that is below this view itself. So within this, we're going to have another view. This view in turn is going to have your image. So let me just get the link for this particular image. So I'm just going to paste the link over here. Okay, so I'll just be sending all of the links whatever I use in the application. You can make use of that in the description. I'll be sending the link. Okay, so here the style given is width of 100, height of 100, and then a border radius of 50 to make it look circular. So below the image, I'm going to have my pressable, that is below this one. I'm going to say pressable, import pressable from React Native. This in turn is going to have a text. Here I'm going to say add a doctor. Okay, so we're going to pass on the style for this pressable over here. I'm going to say style. This in turn is going to have padding vertical of 6, and then padding horizontal of, let's say, 10, and BG color of this color code, that is same thing itself, that is 28328C, and apart from that, a slight border radius of, let's say, 6, and I'm going to give it align self of flex start, and I'm going to give it a margin top of 8 and margin left and right of auto. Save the file. Image doesn't exist. All right, import image from React Native. Save. So as you can see, we're able to see the button as well as the image which is being shown onto the screen, which is good. So let's save the file. So for this particular view, I'm going to pass on the style. So this in turn is going to have some internal spacing, that is padding of 10, and a border color of this color code E0, E0, E0. And yeah, finally I'm going to have my border width of 2, flex of 1, and I'm going to pass in my justify content of center and align items of center as well. Save. Yeah, so that's looking fine. So let's initialize this particular view one more time and make the change for the second one, which is for your clinic design. So just copy that down and paste it below this. Save. Okay, so target your outermost view that contains these two children, that is this view. So for this I'm going to give it a flex of row, and then I'm going to pass on some align items of center, gap of 20, and a padding of, let's say, 12. Save. As you can see, that's looking fine. So now let's give another property, that is flex of 1. I think flex of 1 is already given. Okay, even for this it's given, but not sure why it is not taking up equal space. So alright, so now it's finally working. So now we are able to see equal spaces being divided for each of the containers. I didn't do any change though, but I just tried to reload my app and then it is working fine. So let's further move on with the next part, that is your doctor's clinic as well as your appointments. So that's going to happen right below your view, that is this particular view. So this should say add a clinic, save. Yeah, so below this view I'm going to have my pressable being initialized. This pressable in turn is going to have another view. This view in turn is going to have another view, which in turn is going to have your material design icons. I don't think material design icons is already initialized or installed. Yeah, it's not installed. Let's install that one. So here I'm going to say yarn add material design icons, enter. Let's do a pod install once, and once this is complete, let's try to reload our app. Let's continue designing. So here I'm going to have my material design icons. So the name is going to be doctor, size is going to be of 26, color is going to be of white. Let's import it at the top of the screen just like this. Okay, so yeah, let's try to save the file. So for the view I'm going to pass on my style, so I'm going to say style over here. So for this I'm going to pass on width of 50 and a height of 50. Furthermore I'm going to say background color of 7C, B9, E3, not E3, E8, and yeah, apart from that I'm going to give it a border radius of 25 to make it look exactly circular. Then I'm going to say justify center as well as align items of center. Save. So as you can see, we are able to see that icon being shown onto the screen. So furthermore, apart from this particular view, we're going to have a view which says text doctors. Below that another text which says total number of doctors added. Save. Let's pass on the style for the text. Font size of let's say 16, font weight of 500, and then a letter spacing of 0.5. Save the file. So as you can see, that's looking good. Let's pass on the style for the next piece of text over here, that is the second text. Here it's going to contain a margin top since it's almost touching the top piece of the text. So I'm going to say margin top of let's say 5, and I'm going to pass in a color of this color code, that is 282828. Save. So as you can see, that's looking fine. So now below this particular view we're going to have another view being initialized. So this view in turn is going to have another view. So this view is going to have a text. So for now I'm just going to hard code it, let's say 5, and below the text or below the view we're going to have your material design icons again. So this in turn is going to contain your chevron right icon. So I'm going to say chevron right, and color is going to be black over here. Save. As you can see, we have all of the required design. Let's pass on the style for this, that is your blue background color, that is for this particular view itself. So background color is going to be 2832 and then 8C, and I'm going to give it some padding horizontal of let's say 15 and padding vertical of 4. I'm going to say align self of flex start and border radius of 25. Let's format once and let's try to save the file. As you can see, that's looking fine. Let's pass on the style for the text over here. Initially it's going to have a text align of center and then color of white, and it's gonna have a font weight of 600. Yeah, so now let's design the entire thing so that it comes into this particular way. So for that, let's move on to the, I think, topmost view or the topmost pressable. That is this one. Yeah, even this view as well. So target the style for this view. I'm gonna give it a flex of row. So flex direction row, align items of center, and then basic gap of let's say 8. Save. As you can see, that's looking fine. Let's pass on the style for the pressable as well. This in turn is going to have a margin horizontal of 12, flex direction of row, align items of center, as well as gap of 8, and then I'm going to pass on the justify content of space between. Save. So as you can see, that's looking cool. Let's just finally target this view and then finish up the design for this one. So for that, let's scroll down. We need to target this particular view and give the flex of row. So I'm going to say style over here, give it a flex of row, and then align items of center, and I'm going to give it a gap of 2. So there you go. Our design is looking really good, which is currently matching our screenshot design as well. Yeah, this part is done. I'm just going to initialize the pressable a couple of times for the remaining 2 pressables. So copy this down because the design is going to remain exactly the same, just that the icons and the names are going to change. Save. As you can see, that's looking fine. So for each of your pressable, I think for the second pressable you can give it a margin vertical to space out a bit. That is, yeah, this one, not this one. Yeah, this is the one. Format once initially. For this particular pressable, margin vertical of 12 or 13. Save. Yeah, that's looking fine. Let's start making the changes. So initially for the second one, we're going to say clinics. Instead of doctors, it's going to say clinics over here. Save. Below the clinics, we're going to have a text which says total number of clinics added. Save the file. All right, so yeah, below that we're going to have the number, let's say 3. Furthermore, let's move on to the next pressable which is for your appointments actually. So I'm going to say appointments. Save. Here I'm going to say total appointments. Okay, and here let's say 2 as of now. Now let's make the change for the color as well as the icon. So this is going to say hospital box outline for the final pressable. That is this one. So I'm going to say hospital box outline. Save. And color also should be changed. That is a pink shade of color. So for that I'm going to say ed A4 and then BC. Save the file. As you can see, that's looking nice. And I think the same background color for the second pressable as well. Copy that down. Yeah, so there you go. Let's also make the change for the icon over here. So the second icon is going to be hospital box outline. Is it the same thing? Yeah, it's the same thing. So here also I'm going to make the change. I'm going to say hospital box outline. Format once and then let's try to save. Yeah, so we have finally finished designing the entire part of the initial screen, that is your admin dashboard. So now let's actually try to set up our backend part, because once when we set up this and once I try to press on add a doctor, we should navigate to this particular screen, add a doctor screen, and once when the user enters all of these details and presses on add a doctor, this particular doctor should be added to the backend part. So let's head over to MongoDB and then let's create a fresh new project. So here I'm going to say mongodb.com. Let's try to sign in. We're going to sign in with Google over here. Alright, so once you sign up with Google or sign in with Google, you would come to this particular page and you should be seeing the recently used project over here. I'm just going to scroll down and then let's try to create a new project. I'm going to say new project over here. Let's say Practo clone. And apart from that, I'm just going to leave everything as default. Let's press on next. As you can see, I myself am the project owner. I'm going to press on create project. let's press on create a cluster. Make sure to choose a free version, 512 MB of storage. Apart from that, leave everything as default, then create deployment. Okay, let's do this. Yeah, so as you can see, the next step is you need to create a user. I'm going to create my username, password also my username itself, create database user. Choose the connection method. I'm going to choose MongoDB for VS Code. The third option, as you can see, our cluster is still provisioning. Let's wait for this step to complete. Let's come back over here. Let's create our API folder. Press on app.js so that you're at the root level. New folder, API. So let's come back to a new terminal. I'm going to say cd API, npm init, package name API, version is that. So I'm going to say description is going to be backend. Apart from that, for every other thing, I'm just going to press on enter. So let's check out our API folder. As you can see, our package.json is being created for us, which is good. So let's install the required dependencies that we're going to use. I'm going to say yarn add, initially bcrypt, and then body parser. Furthermore, we're going to have cors, we're going to have express, we're going to have JSON web token. All right, we're going to have moment. Okay, and we're going to have mongoose as well, then node mailer, node mon as well, and then socket.io. Let's press on enter. So these are all the required dependencies that we're going to use while building up the backend part. So there you go, all of the dependencies have been incorporated inside of your dependencies object. Let's also write our start script. That's going to be nodemon index.js. Save. Let's try to create our index.js file and import the required things. So I'm going to say index.js. So here initially I'm going to say import express, not import, const express is going to be equals to require of express. So furthermore I'm going to say const body parser is going to be equals to require of body parser. Then I'm going to initialize my mongoose. I'm going to say const mongoose is going to be equals to require of mongoose, and const bcrypt is going to be equals to require of your bcrypt. Furthermore, let's initialize our node mailer. I'm going to say const node mailer is going to be equals to require of node mailer. So next I'm going to initialize my app. Let's create an instance of the app. I'm going to say const app is going to be equals to express. Choose a specific port. I'm going to say const port is going to be equals to 8000, and I'm going to say const cors is going to be equals to require of cors. I'm going to say app.use of cors, and furthermore I'm going to say app.use body parser.json because we're handling JSON data. The next one is app.use body parser.url encoded, and here I'm going to pass in x and it is going to be false. Yeah, so apart from this I'm going to make use of my mongoose.connect method, and this in turn is going to take in your connection URL. So for the URL you should be able to get that in the backend itself. Let's go back to your MongoDB. I think it is configured. Let's try to press on clusters. Let's say connect. The third option, MongoDB for VS Code. As you can see, this is your connection URL. Copy that down and just paste that over here. Make sure to enter your correct password, whatever you have given while creating your database password. In my case, it was my name itself. So save. Once this is done, I'm going to apply the then method. This in turn is going to log a statement which says connected to Mongo Db. If at all there is any error while implementing this or while connecting to the backend, we're going to catch that error, and I'm going to say console.log error connecting to MongoDB with that particular error message. Let's try to format once. Save the file. Yeah, let's initialize our listen method. I'm going to say app.listen on a specific port. This in turn is going to take in a function, and here I'm just going to say console.log server running on port 8000. Alright, so let's try to save the file once. Format. Yeah, let's try to run the application. So currently you're inside of your API folder. Let's try to run yarn start, enter. So there you can see. So as you can see, server running on port 8000 and then connected to MongoDB. So we have successfully set up a project in the backend, and then we have connected that particular app to the front end part. Okay, so now let's actually try to define our models now itself, so it becomes easier while coding it out. So I'm gonna press on index.js, new folder. I'm gonna say models. So within the models, let's first of all create our doctor model that we require over here. I'm gonna say doctor.js. Let's start writing out our model. I'm gonna say const mongoose is gonna be equals to require of mongoose, and I'm gonna initialize my doctor schema. I'm gonna say const doctor schema is gonna be equals to new mongoose dot schema. This in turn is gonna take in the name. I'm gonna say type is gonna be of string, and your required is gonna be of true. Let's format. So furthermore, apart from name, we're gonna have your image URL. Here I'm gonna say type is gonna be of string, and I'm gonna say required is gonna be of true. Alright, so furthermore, apart from image URL, we're gonna have the next one, that is the experience of the doctor. So I'm gonna say experience, type is gonna be of string, required is gonna be of true. Format once. Apart from experience, we're gonna have the study, that is whatever they have studied. So I'm gonna say type is gonna be of string, and required is gonna be of true. Furthermore, apart from studies, we're gonna have your specialization of that particular doctor. This also type of string and then required of true. Apart from specialization, we're going to have the clinics that this particular doctor is practicing in, and I'm going to say clinics. So a doctor can practice in more than one clinics as well, so that's the reason we're going to pass in an array of clinics over here. I'm going to say clinics. So here I'm going to say type mongoose dot schema dot types dot object id, and I'm going to pass in my reference to the clinic. So clinic is not yet defined, we're going to define that in just a bit. After your clinics, the next part is going to be for your services. So I'm going to say services is going to be an array of strings. I'm going to say type is going to be of string. Format once. Apart from services, we're going to have the description. I'm going to say description is going to be type of string, and it's not compulsory to write this. The next one, we're going to say patient stories. So for a particular clinic, any particular user in the front end part can go and then add a particular experience or a patient story from their side regarding the clinic or regarding their doctor. Okay, so for that reason I'm going to say patient stories. Here I'm going to say patient schema, or I'm going to say patient story schema. And finally we're going to have timestamps. I'm just going to say true. Let's define your patient schema at the top over here. I'm going to say const patient story schema is going to be equals to new mongoose dot schema. Here I'm going to say patient name is going to be equals to type of string, and we're going to have required of true, and we're going to have recommended, type of string, and then we're going to have enum, array of strings, either yes or no, required is going to be true. Apart from recommended, we're going to have your health issue, that is for which particular health issue the user was consulted for. So here again I'm going to say type of string, required is going to be true. And apart from health issue, we're going to have your wait time. This also type of string, and then required of true. Format once. Apart from wait time, we're going to have satisfaction, that is if at all the user was satisfied or not by the doctor's consultation. So I'm going to say satisfaction. So here type of string, and then required of true. So apart from that, the experience, that is the overall experience the user had got from the consultation. So the last one is going to be your experience. So this is the experience the user has gotten from the consultation of the doctor. Type of string, and then required of true. Here also timestamps is going to be equals to true. Format once, save the file. Yeah, so this is your entire code for the doctor schema. Let's scroll down and then let's try to export the required values. I'm going to say const doctor is going to be equals to mongoose dot model. This in turn is going to say doctor over here, and we're going to pass in your doctor schema. I'm going to say module dot exports is going to be equals to doctor. So you can go through this code one more time if you have missed any of the values. Alright, so this is done. Let's move on to the next part, that is for your clinic. So clinic is a bit long to write, so it should take a couple of minutes, or it should take a longer amount of time to write the schema. Let's start writing that. I'm going to say clinic.js. So initially again, let's try to initialize our mongoose. I'm going to say const mongoose is going to be equals to require of mongoose. So here I'm going to say const clinic schema is going to be equals to new mongoose dot schema. This in turn is going to have a name, that is a name for the clinic, type of string, and then required of true. Then we're going to have the phone number. So this is going to have type of string. Apart from phone number, we're going to have your website for the clinic if at all it's present. So type of string. Apart from website, we're going to have the opening hours of the clinic. So I'm going to say opening hours. This is going to be an array of string. Furthermore, we're going to have photo or photos. This also is going to be an array of strings. Furthermore, apart from photos, we're going to have the reviews by the customers. So I'm going to say reviews. So we're going to have an array of reviews containing your author name, that is in the form of a string, and then we're going to have your rating, that is in the form of a number. We're going to have the text, which is in the form of a string. Furthermore, apart from reviews, we're going to have the next one that's going to be for your types. That also is going to be an array of string, and we're going to have the formatted address for that particular clinic. So I'm going to say formatted underscore address. Type is going to be string. And yes, apart from formatted address, I'm going to have my brief description. So brief description is going to be type of string. It's not compulsory. Yeah, so apart from your brief description, the next part is your geometry. I'm just going to paste in the code for that. So just below your brief description, I'm going to paste in the geometry. So this would basically store in your latitude as well as the longitude for that particular clinic. Okay, we're also going to store the viewport as well, that is containing your northeast as well as your southeast objects. So furthermore, apart from the geometry, we're going to have the slots for that particular clinic. So let's start writing that down. Here I'm going to say slots. It is going to be in the form of an array. So initially we're going to have the day being initialized. So this can be a string. And yeah, so let's pass in the type. It's going to be string, and required is going to be true. So this is going to be in this format, either today or tomorrow or the day after. So yes, apart from day, we're going to have the next one. Let's initially format once. Here we're going to have the date. This is going to be again type of string, and then we're going to have a required of true. So this is basically going to be your actual date. Okay, yeah, so this is done. Apart from date, we're going to have your slots for morning, afternoon as well as your evening. Let's start writing that down. I'm going to say morning. We're going to say available. This is going to be type of boolean, either it is true or false. Default is going to be true. And for morning, we're going to have again the timings being shown. So I'm going to say timings. Again, it's going to be an array of strings. So I'm going to say initially time. Type is going to be of string over here. And furthermore, we're going to have another word that is for the booked. Whether this particular time is booked or not, I'm going to say booked over here. So I'm going to pass in type. It's going to be boolean. And furthermore, default is going to be false. Okay, yeah, so this is your condition for the morning part. Similarly, we're going to have it for the afternoon as well as for the evening. So this is for your afternoon. I'm going to write afternoon over here. Yeah, so for afternoon, again, we're going to have available. Type is going to be boolean. Default is going to be true. Again, for timings, it's going to have an array of strings. Type is going to be of type string. Booked is going to be type boolean. Default is going to be, it should be true, I guess. I mean, yeah, for this it's going to be false. That is for the book part. For this is going to be true. Okay, so similarly for the next one, that is for your evening slots. Let's pass on the code for that. Here I'm going to say evening. Available is going to be type boolean, default true. Again, timings, type of string. Yeah, time. Yeah, under timings, we're going to have time. That's going to be type of string, and then booked is going to be false by default. And furthermore, we're going to have the final one, that is for your is closed for that particular day. So for a particular day, let's say if it is Sunday, the admin has the right to close the clinic. So for that, we need one more variable that is going to be your is closed. Okay, so let's write that down over here. I'm going to say is closed. Type is going to be string. I mean not string, boolean. And I'm going to say default is going to be false. Format once. Let's try to save the file. Let's try to export the required values. I'm going to say const clinic is going to be equals to mongoose dot model. This in turn is going to take in your clinic, and I'm going to pass in my clinic schema over here. And here I'm going to say module.exports is going to be equals to clinic. Format, save. That's it. Let's go through it one more time. If you have missed anything, you can check it now. I think website spelling is wrong. Let's change that. Alright, so this part is done. So let's move on to the next part. So let's finally write down the model for the appointment. So I'm going to say appointment.js. So here let's start writing down the model for the appointment part. Here let's again initialize our mongoose. I'm going to say const mongoose is going to be equals to require of mongoose, and here I'm going to say const appointment schema is going to be equals to new mongoose dot schema. This in turn is going to take in your initial thing, that is your doctor ID. That is basically a doctor that particular user is consulting for. So I'm going to say doctor ID. This in turn is going to say type. It's going to be equals to mongoose dot schema dot types dot your object ID. The reference is going to be to the doctor, and we're going to have required is going to be true. So furthermore, we're going to have the clinic ID. Here I'm going to pass in the type, which is going to say mongoose dot schema dot your types dot your object ID. This reference is going to be to your clinic. I'm going to say reference to your clinic. And we're going to have required is going to be of true. Furthermore, apart from the clinic ID, we're going to have your user ID as well. That is the person who has consulted for an appointment. So user ID, type is going to be the same thing. Reference is going to be for the user, and we're going to have your required as true. So apart from user ID, we're going to have the next one, that is your appointment time. So type is going to be string, and then required is going to be of true. Apart from your appointment time, we're going to have the next one, that is total amount for the appointment. Let's format once. Here I'm going to say total amount. So here let's say type. I'm going to say it's going to be type of number over here, and required is going to be true. Apart from total amount, we're going to have the next one, that is day. Type is going to be string, and we're going to have required is going to be true. Format. So apart from your day, we're going to have the next one, that is status as well. So we're going to check if at all and the appointment is either in pending state or it is in a confirmed state. So for that, I'm going to say status. So here I'm going to say type is going to be of string, and here I'm going to say default is going to be pending. So as soon as a particular user tries to book an appointment with a doctor, it would be in a pending state. So once and only if at all your particular admin, that is you yourself, confirm that particular appointment, then a particular notification will be sent to the user saying that the appointment is confirmed. So that's the reason I'm writing default is going to be pending. Furthermore, we're going to have the created at. Here I'm going to say created at, type is going to be string, and then here, I mean not string, type is going to be date, and default is going to be date.now. And here I'm going to say timestamp is going to be true. Format. Okay, so yeah, that's it. Let's try to export it. I'm going to say module dot export is going to be equals to mongoose dot model appointment, that's the name, and here I'm going to pass in my appointment schema. So yes, we have defined all of the required schemas as of now, except for one thing, that is your user schema, that we can define it in the later part of the video. Let's try to save the file. Yeah, so this is your entire code for the appointment schema. So now the next step is, if at all I press on the button which says add a doctor, we should be navigated to this particular screen, that is your add doc screen. And first of all, let's start designing all of the code that is present over here. And once that is done, we are going to initialize an endpoint to create a doctor in the backend part, such that once when we enter all of the details over here and once we press on add doctor button, we should be able to save that doctor to the backend part. So let's look into the design initially. Let's come back to the point where we have this button which says add a doctor. I think that is there in the admin dashboard, that is over here. So onto this, we're going to create a on press event, and once when we press on this, we're going to navigate to the doctor screen or the add doc screen. There we're going to start designing the screen. Okay, I think that is there over here. So here first, let's initialize our navigation at the top of the page. So here I'm going to say const navigation is going to be equals to use navigation. Make sure to import use navigation from React navigation as such. Let's come down to the button. Here I'm going to say on press, we're going to say navigation dot navigate to the name of the screen we want to navigate to, that is going to be add doc. So let's initially format once, save the file. Let's press on this. So there you go, we are coming correctly to the add doctor screen. So let's start looking into the design of the add doctor screen. So basically it's going to have a image URL that the user is going to enter, that is basically the admin itself, then the name, the study, experience, specialization, clinics practicing in, and then the services, and then procedures. So let's start designing this. So let's initialize our safe area view initially. So import that and let's make use of that instead of the normal view. So I'm going to say safe area view. Yeah, so let's come down to the safe area view, pass on the style, initially a flex of 1. So I'm going to say flex of 1 and then a background color. So I'm going to say BG color. Is going to be white. Okay, so background color white, save. Yeah, so that's being applied. So below that I'm going to make use of my scroll view because this is a scrollable screen. So yeah, import scroll view from React Native. Let's remove this text. Within the scroll view, I'm going to have my initial view being shown. Alright, so within this view, we're going to have another view. And within this view, we're going to have the image being shown. So here let's initialize the source as well as the URI. Let's first of all initialize the state to hold the URL, that is for this particular image. I'm going to say const image URL comma set image URL is going to be equals to use state. Initially it would be pointing to an empty string, so also make sure to import use state from React. I'll just be getting the link for the image. So here I'm going to write a condition stating that if at all my image URL is present, then show the image URL, else show this particular image. That is basically your avatar image. Let's pass on the style for the image over here. I'm going to say style. This in turn is going to have, let's say, a width of 90 as well as a height of 90. So height 90. Apart from that, I'm going to give it border radius of 45 to make it look circular. Resize mode is going to be cover. Save. Image doesn't exist. Okay, so import that. So as you can see, that's looking good. We're able to see that being shown onto the screen. So now for the view, let's provide the style. I'm going to say align items of center. Furthermore, justify content of center as well. Okay, so as you can see, it went to the center part of the screen. I think for this particular screen, there is header. So let's come back to the stack navigator, and then over here, I'm going to remove this options, save. As you can see, automatically we're able to see the header. So let's come back to your add doc screen. So now below your view, I'm going to have another view being initialized. Within this, we're going to have basically a text which says add a picture of the doctor. So save the file. As you can see, that's being shown onto the screen, and below that we're going to have the view for the text input. Here I'm going to say view, initialize your iron icons. Okay, so the name is going to be camera outline. Furthermore, the size is going to be equals to, let's say, 22, and initially provide a color of black. Below this, we're going to have a text input being initialized. So text input, import that from React Native. And for this, we're going to have the value. That is going to be your image URL itself. That is whatever you paste in this particular field. On change text, I'm just going to say set your image URL. Furthermore, pass in your placeholder, which says enter your image URL. Furthermore, I'm going to provide the style for this. That is for your text input. Initially, color is going to be gray, and some margin vertical. I'm going to say margin vertical of 10 and a width of 300. Format, save. And icons doesn't exist. Okay, let's import that from any of the screens. So here, let's initialize our iron icons. Save. So there you go. We're able to see that being shown on the screen. Let's style it out quickly. So initially for this particular view, give some margin top. So margin top of 25. Save. Okay. Target this view, we need to give it in a row fashion. That is, we need to design it in a row fashion. So flex of row initially, as well as align items of center. I'm going to say align items is going to be center. Okay, and apart from that, I'm going to give it a small gap of 5. Furthermore, border radius of 5, and I'm going to give it margin top of 10 and a background color of this color code, that is DC DC DC, and I'm going to give it padding vertical of 6. Save. So there you go, that's looking fine. So I forgot to give padding to this view, so I'm going to give style over here. This in turn is going to have, let's say, padding of 12, some internal spacing, so it gives out a good spacing. So padding of 12, so there you go, that's looking nice. So for the icon, I think we need to give it some margin left because it's almost touching the left part of the container. So here I'm going to say style, and here I'm just going to say margin left of 8. Okay, that's looking fine. So let's try to save the file. So below the view, we're gonna have a button. Here I'm gonna say button, import that from React Native. The title is gonna say add image. Yeah, that's looking fine. Now furthermore, below the button, let's continue designing the next part of the text input. So here I'm gonna initialize my view. This view in turn is gonna have a text. Here I'm gonna say name. Save the file. Yeah, so below this I'm gonna have text input. So let's do one thing. Let's actually initialize all of the required states that we're going to use for adding a particular doctor into the backend part. So let's scroll up and then let's initialize all of our required states. Image URL is already initialized. Let's continue further. I'm going to say const name comma set name is going to be equals to use state, initially an empty string. Furthermore, I'm going to say experience. So const experience comma set experience is going to be equals to use state. This is well initially an empty string. Then the next one is going to be for your description. I'm going to say const description comma set description is going to be equals to use state, initially an empty string. Apart from description, the next thing we have is the study part. I'm going to say const study comma set study is going to be equals to use state, initially an empty string as well. Apart from that, I'm going to say const specialization comma set specialization is going to be equals to use state. This is well an initial empty string. Furthermore, for the services as well as for the input value, I'm going to say const services comma set services is going to be equals to use state, initially an empty string. Okay, so yeah, I think these are the required things as of now, and once when we have the remaining things to be set up, we would add more of the designs over here or the states. Okay, so let's come down to the point and then let's start designing the next input, that is for your name. So for the text input, let's pass on the value. So value in turn is going to be equals to name. I'm going to say on change text. I'm just going to say set name over here. Automatically it should set the value. Furthermore, placeholder text color, I'm going to pass on black over here. Let's format once. Yes, apart from that, I'm going to pass in some style to this. I'm going to say padding of 10. Okay, then border color of this color code, that is D0 D0 D0, border width of 1, margin top of 10, furthermore border radius of 5. Save. So as you can see, that's looking good. And yeah, placeholder, you can enter a random value just to say the user that you should enter the input of this format. I'm going to say placeholder. You can enter a random doctor's name. I'm going to say Dr. Sridhar Karthik. Save. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, that's looking fine. Let's target the style for the name. Here, this in turn is going to have font size of 15 and then a font weight of bold. Let's copy this down one more time. That is this particular view for the next part. So yes, this is going to say the next value, that is going to be study. Let's format once. Yeah, or we can give this style, that is margin vertical. because both of the views are almost touching each other. So margin vertical of 10. Yeah, so it's looking fine. So let's target the second view. So yeah, this change has been made, that is for study. Let's make the change for the value. So this is going to be study. Okay, this is going to be set study. And apart from that, all the other details are going to remain as is. Let's change the placeholder. So this is going to say MD, and then I'm going to say general medicine, as well as MBBS. Save. So as you can see, that's looking nice. So below that view, we're going to have another view. Let's just copy down this itself, initialize that, and then below this we're going to paste it. Save. Yeah, so that's looking good. So this is going to be for your experience part. So I'm going to say experience. So furthermore, let's also change over here as well, that is for the value. Experience, and then set experience over here. Save. Yeah, so it's looking good. So yeah, even for experience I've added that itself. So let's say over here, for example, we're going to enter 10 years or 5 years. Yeah, that's looking fine. So below that, we're going to have the next one, that's going to be for your specialization. Initialize this view, and just below that, paste it over here. So this in turn is going to say specialization. Save. Yeah, so let's make the change for the value again. So this in turn is going to be specialization, and even over here it's going to be set specialization. All right, so let's check out the placeholder. It's going to be empty, so let's just remove that, not required. Okay, so furthermore, after specialization, we're going to have clinics practicing in. So copy this down and paste it over here. Instead of experience text, we're going to change the text, which says clinics practicing in. And yeah, that's it. So we're going to have a placeholder for this, which is going to say start typing the clinics. So this is going to work in such a way that as and when the admin types the clinic names, if at all we do have any kind of clinics in the backend matching that particular string, we need to show them as suggestions. And once when the user presses on the particular suggestion, or once when the admin presses on that particular suggestion, we need to map that particular we need to map that particular clinic to this particular doctor. Okay, so I'm going to say start typing the clinics. So this we will implement once when we implement the clinics part. So save the file. So let's initialize our state for the search input. I'm going to say const search input comma set search input is going to be equals to use state, initially an empty string. Let's scroll down, and over here I'm going to say value is going to be search input, and your on change text is going to be set search input, or instead of that I'm going to say handle search. So as of now, I'm just going to comment this out. So once when we implement the clinics part, and once when we get all of the clinics in this particular screen, as and when the admin types each kind of string or characters, if at all we do have a match, then we're going to show it as a suggestion. Okay, so yes, apart from this, the next thing we have is the services and then procedures. So let's initialize this view, and let's paste it over here. So let's make the change for this. So this is going to say services and your procedures. Save. So as you can see, that's looking good. So the value for this is going to be input value. So I'm going to say const input value comma set input value is again going to be use state and empty string. Let's scroll down. So here let's make the change for this. I'm going to say input value and then on change text, it's going to be equals to set input value. Yeah, so this is going to be input value, not just input. Format once. So the way this is going to work is, as and when you type any kind of service that the doctor is practicing in, let's say cardiology or urology, and then press on enter, automatically that particular string value should be added below. Okay, so for that reason, I'm going to make use of a method known as on submit editing. So I'm going to say on submit editing, I'm going to say add your service. So let's first of all, define this function, that is add service. Let's go on to the top over here. I'm going to say const add service is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. Here first of all, I'm going to check if my input value.trim and not of services.includes your input value.trim. So this is your condition. Okay, if this is the condition, then in that case I'm just going to say, I think there is a bracket issue. Yeah, it's gone. So here I'm going to say set services to be of whatever is your previous services. Just include whatever is your previous services. So just spread it over here. I'm going to say spread operator, and then include that and just add your input value. So I'm going to say input value.trim. And after adding it, just set your input value to be empty so that you can add the next input value. So format once, and then let's try to save the file. So you can't add the same kind of service, so you can add only unique services. So let's try to add a service and then let's check it out. Or let's do one thing. First of all, let's implement the design and then let's try to add it at the end part. So let's scroll down, and yeah, for the placeholder, I'm going to say it's going to be enter your service. Save. Yeah, so it's looking good. So below this view itself, we're going to show the design, that is all the services that the admin has added. So yeah, below your text input, I'm going to initialize my view, and here I'm going to map over my services. I'm going to say services array. So services dot map. So for every item and then the index, or every service and then your index, I'm going to initialize a view. Within this view, I'm going to have a text which is going to show the service name, and I'm going to have a pressable which also shows your X button so that you can cancel the service as well. So I'm going to just press on X over here. Let's pass on the design for your outermost container, that is this particular view. I'm going to say style over here. So this in turn is going to have basically, let's say, flex direction row, because we want it in a row fashion. Apart from that, flex wrap of wrap, and then margin top of, let's say, 15. And furthermore, let's also initialize our design for the inner view, that is this one. I'm going to say style over here. This in turn is basically going to have flex of row, align items of center. It's going to have a specific background color, that is a blue shade of color, that is going to be 007 as well as BFF. Then we're going to have border radius of 15. Apart from that, padding horizontal of 10. Then I'm going to say padding vertical of 5. Margin right of 8. Margin bottom of 8. Not block, margin bottom. Format once, let's try to save the file. Okay, I think previously we got an error which says services is not a function, because over here by mistake I've added empty string. This should be an empty array because we can have n number of services. in the form of array of strings, right? So let's try to save. And for this, let's provide in the style, that is for your text. Color is going to be white. And we're going to have font size of, let's say, 14 and margin right of 5. So we can't directly add your x within the pressable. Make sure to add a text. Within that, pass on your x value. Let's pass on the style for this. So I'm going to say style over here. So this in turn is basically going to have, let's say, color of white. And it's going to have font size of 16 or 15 and then font weight of bold. Save the file. Let's give this a try. Let's actually try to add a service. Let's say I'm going to add a basic string over here, heart. Enter. Yeah, so pressable doesn't exist, so import pressable. Now let's give this a try. Add in a basic string. So there you go. Automatically we're able to add that particular string into the input field, and then we're able to show that as well at the bottom part. So now let's initialize onPress on this. I'm going to say onPress. I think we could add a small x instead of a capital X. Yeah, let's first of all finish the function. So onPress, I'm going to say remove item or remove service. So it's going to take in a function, and here we're going to say remove service of your service. Let's define the function, that is remove service. So here we're just going to make use of the filter function, and then we're going to filter out that particular service from the services array. So here I'm going to say const remove service is going to be equals to a normal arrow function, which in turn is going to take in your service. Here I'm going to say set services, access your previous services whatever is present, and over here I'm just going to say previous services dot filter. So for every item, your item should not be equals to your service. That's it. Format once. Let's try to save the file. Now let's press on hard button. Automatically they should be removed. As you can see, that went off the screen. So it's working absolutely fine. We are able to add strings as well as we're able to remove the strings as well. Let's say cardiologist or cardio itself. Enter. Yeah, so we're able to add this string as well. Let's remove this. Yeah, so this part is working absolutely fine. So this step is done. That is for the services and procedures. So now the next step is we're gonna have that button to add a doctor, right? So let's scroll down. So this is basically gonna come below your scroll view. Here I'm gonna say pressable, initialize a text which says add doctor. Let's pass on the style over here. I'm going to say style. This in turn is going to have a background color of the blue shade. So I'm going to say 0077 or 7 triple F, and we're going to give it some margin top of auto. Then I'm going to say a margin bottom value of 30 and some internal spacing, padding of 12, and margin horizontal of, let's say, 10, and furthermore border radius of 4. So as you can see, we're able to see that button being shown onto the screen, which is good. Let's try to decrease it to 20. That is your margin bottom value. So 20. Yeah, I think 20 looks good. You can keep it as much as you want. So let's pass on the style over here. So initially text align of center for this, and furthermore I'm going to give it a color of white, and then I'm going to pass in my font size of, let's say, 15 and font weight of bold. So yes, as you can see, that is looking really good. So yeah, we have finished designing the entire design screen for your add a doctor screen. So let's so now the next step is to go into the index.js file and design an endpoint to add a doctor to the backend part. So yeah, let's head over to our index.js file that is over here. So here let's import all of the required models. I'm going to say const doctor is going to be equals to require imported from the models as well as your doctor. Const clinic is going to be equals to require import from the models as well as your clinic. Finally, for your appointment, so const appointment is going to be equals to require, that's going to be equals to models and then forward slash your appointment itself. Okay, so yes, let's make use of the post method for creating a doctor. I'm going to say app.post, it's going to be forward slash add doctor. Okay, so for some reason we do have an issue. Yeah, it went. All right, so yeah, it's going to be an async method with a request as well as a response in your callback. Your first of all, let's initialize our try as well as catch block. So catch of error. Here I'm just going to say error, or first of all, let's log the error. So console.log error with that particular error message. Here I'm going to say result.status of 500 dot JSON with a message being server error. So we need access to a bunch of information to create a doctor. So I'm going to say const name comma image URL comma your experience. Then we need access to study, then your specialization, then we need access to clinics, then we need access to services, then description is gonna come from your request.body. Format safe. Okay, it says app crash. Let's look into the issue. Okay, it says clinic is not defined. Okay, not sure why. Okay, first of all, let's complete this endpoint and later let's look into the issue. So here I'm going to say if at all there is no name, or if at all there is no image URL, or if at all there is no experience, or if at all there is no study, or if at all there is no specialization, then in that case I'm going to say return result dot status of 400 dot JSON with a message being please provide all required fields. Okay, yeah, so this is done. So now let's create a new doctor. So I'm going to say const new doctor is going to be equals to new access your doctor model, pass in all of the values over here, that is name, image URL, then we need access to experience, then your study, your specialization, then your clinics, then your services, then your description. Okay, yeah, so these are the required things. Once this is created, we need to save it to the backend part. So I'm going to say const saved doctor is going to be equals to await new doctor dot save. Okay, that's it. Then I'm just going to say result dot status of 201 dot JSON with a message being doctor is added successfully. So here I'm going to pass in my doctor. I'm going to say doctor is going to be equals to your save doctor. Let's format once. Let's look into that issue, why Linux is failing. That is, it's crashing over here. Let's actually go to the clinic.js file. Okay, wrong spelling, that's the issue. It should be capital C. Save. Yeah, so there you go, that issue is sorted. So yes, this is basically your endpoint for adding a doctor to the backend part. Let's give this a try. Okay, so now let's actually go back to the add doctor screen, and let's try to initialize all of your values, and then let's try to add a doctor. Okay, so here I'm going to say on press is going to be equals to add doctor. Let's define the function at the top, that is add doctor. Here I'm going to write const add doctor is going to be equals to async function. Here I'm going to initialize my try and then catch block. So initially catch of error. I'm just going to log the error as of now. Let's actually try to install Axios first. So make sure you install that to the main project. I'm going to say yarn add Axios, enter. So inside the try block, let's initialize the doctor data. I'm going to say const doctor data is going to be equals to an object. This in turn is going to take in your name, your image URL, your experience, okay, your study, then your description, then we do have your specialization as well. So specialization clinics. As of now I'm just going to give it an empty array because we have not yet implemented the clinics part, right? Furthermore, your services. Yeah, so this is done. So here I'm going to initialize my response. I'm going to say const response is going to be equals to await Axios. So import Axios from Axios. So it's going to be the post method. I'm going to say Axios dot post over here, and this in turn is going to take in the URL, that's http / localhost 8000, that's the port number, and it's going to be add doctor, and this in turn is going to take in your data, that is going to be your doctor data. So here I'm going to write the condition that if at all my response dot status is going to be equals to 200, is that the status which we sent? Let's check that out. It's 201. So here also let's check the condition for 201. In that case I'm just going to say console.log data added successfully, and I'm just going to say set all of the fields to be empty, that is just like this, and I'm going to say navigation.go back, or it's fine. First of all, let's try to enter the data and then let's check if at all everything is working fine or not. Let's try to save the file. Let's give this a try. So let's get any kind of random image from the net. So I'm just going to say doctor images HD, images over here. Let's say I'm going to add this one. So copy the image address. Let's add in the image over here. Okay, so there you go, the image is added successfully. So here I'm going to say a random name and study. I'm going to enter the same value, that is MD MBBS medicine, and let's say experience I'm going to say 10 years. Specialization I'm going to say cardiologist, and clinics practicing in, that is by default empty as of now. So services and procedure I'm going to say heart, enter. Then furthermore I'm just going to say cardiologist and then enter. Let's try to add the doctor. Alright, it says Axios request error failed with error code 401. Let's check out the backend part. Okay, so there is no issue over here, but there is issue over here. Let's try to log the data if at all we are getting that correctly. I'm just going to say console.log. This is going to be your doctor data. Save. Okay, I think the image is huge, okay, which we do not want it. So let's do one thing. Let's get in a shorter link. Let's say this one. Let's first of all check if it is small. Yeah, I think this is good. So let's try to re-add the doctor. Reload once. So add a doctor. Paste it over here. Let's enter a random name. Study. I'm going to say MD, MBBS, General Medicine. Then furthermore, experience I'm going to say 10 years. Specialization I'm going to say cardiologist. Yeah, this is okay. Let's write that correctly. So cardiologist. And I'm going to say services, heart. Okay, let's press on add a doctor. All right, yeah, so now we're able to see the image. The clinics is empty, image is there. Then we do have services, specialization as well as study. Let's do one thing. Let's actually log the details in the backend part. Let's see where exactly is the issue. So here, okay, I think because of this it's failing, because that's the status code it's returning for 100. So let's actually log only these things. So I'm going to say console.log name as well as your name, then your image URL. It's going to be image URL. Then we're going to have the next one, that is your experience. Then console.log of study. Then console.log of your specialization. Save. Let's give this a try. Let's see which detail is actually missing. Okay, so everything's undefined. So that's the reason it's not working. Okay, let's actually see why it is undefined. So let's come back to the admin, not admin, add doctor file. But here we are able to access everything. Doctor data. Okay, I think there is an issue over here. Okay, because you have passed it inside of an object, this needs to be directly passed because it is already inside of an object, right? So just pass in the doctor data. So now it should work correctly fine. Save and add a doctor. So there you go, everything was added, and then we were able to add that particular doctor. So as you can see, data added successfully. It says set clinics doesn't exist, so let's actually include that as well. It's going to be equals to use state initially an empty array. So let's actually check out in the backend if at all we do have that data being stored. So let's try to reload once, and let's move on to the browse collections, that is over here. So you should be able to see the first doctor being added into the screen or into the clinics collection. So not clinics, my bad, doctors. So there you go, we do have the first doctor being added, the name, the image URL, your experience, the study, specialization. Clinics is as of now empty. Services is 1, that is what we added, and these are the patient story, which is also empty by default. So yes, we are able to successfully add a doctor to the backend part, which is good. So now the next step is, let's actually try to show all of the doctors. That is, if at all I come back over here, and if at all I press on the doctors, we need to go into a separate doctor screen and then show all of the doctors that are present instead of the backend part. So for that, we need to implement an endpoint initially. Let's do that. So let's head over to the index.js file, and then let's actually define an endpoint for getting all of your doctors. So I'm going to head over to my index.js file, and here let's initialize the endpoint. I'm going to say app.get. It's going to be /doctors. here make use of the async method with your request as well as the response in the callback, and let's initialize our try as well as your catch block. So catch of error, here I'm just going to log the error. I'm going to say console.log error with that particular error message. Instead of your try block, I'm just going to say const doctors is going to be equals to await. I'm going to say doctor dot apply the find method and just pass in an empty object. So this would basically return you all of the doctor's data instead of your doctor's collection. So once we have that, I'm just going to say result dot status of 200 dot json with all of your doctors. That's it. Let's format once. Let's try to save the file. And let's actually head over to our admin dashboard. And let's initialize the on press on the first pressable which says doctors. That is this one. Here I'm going to say on press, taking a function. Here let's write navigation dot navigate to the name of the screen we want to navigate to. That is going to be your doctors. Save. Let's press on this. So as you can see, we're coming correctly to the doctor screen. So let's start writing the code for the doctor screen. So here we're going to make a call to the endpoint, and then we're going to design the doctor screen, which is going to look something like this. Okay, some basic design itself. So let's initialize that. I'm going to say const doctors comma set doctors is going to be equals to use state, initially an empty array. I'm going to say here const loading comma set loading is going to be equals to use state, initially true. Here let's initialize our navigation as well. So I'm going to say const navigation is going to be equals to use navigation, and import use navigation from React navigation. Here make use of the use effect, and then let's call that particular endpoint. I'm going to run on the initial render. Here I'm going to say const fetch data is going to be equals to a async function. So here I'm going to say set loading is going to be equals to true, and I'm going to say const doctors data is going to be equals to await fetch doctors, and here I'm going to say set doctors to be of your doctors data, and I'm going to say set loading to be of false. Now let's define the function that is fetch doctors over here. I'm going to say const fetch doctors is going to be equals to a async function, and here let's initialize our try as well as your catch block. So catch of error. Here let's initialize the error block initially. So I'm going to say console.log error with that particular error message. Instead of your try block, initialize a response. I'm going to say const response is going to be equals to await axios.get. This is going to be your URL, that is http localhost 8000 / doctors. Make sure to import axios from axios. Okay, and yeah, here I'm going to check the condition that if at all my response dot status is going to be equals to 200, then in that case I'm going to say return response dot data dot your doctors. Okay, else I'm going to say console.log fail to fetch doctors, and below that I'm just going to return an empty array. Save the file. Use state doesn't exist. All right, both of them doesn't exist, use state as well as use effect. So use effect as well. Format once, save. Yeah, hopefully we should have access to the doctors. Okay, let's try to log the doctors once. Here I'm going to say console.log and then doctors. So okay, we do have an empty array. That's not what we wanted because we do have something in the backend part. So let's check if at all we have made the correct endpoint call. So here index.js. Okay, my bad. They should be sent instead of an object, not just the direct value. Save the file. Let's come back over here. Now we should be able to see the required response coming. Save. Let's come back to your index.js file over here. Okay, yeah, so this is your endpoint app.get of doctors, and yeah, initially request and response. We have initialized the try catch. That's fine. Yeah, that's actually correct itself. Doctors equals to await doctor dot find. Okay, so for some reason we're not able to see the details. Let's actually log over here. I'm gonna say data as well as your doctors. Save. Let's actually see if at all we are getting some data from the backend or not. So doctors.js file. Oh, okay, I think that endpoint is not getting called. Yeah, but this is your correct endpoint. That is HTTP localhost 8000 and then / your doctors, and even we have imported Axios, I guess. Yes, that's correct. Let's try to log the response once. Reload. I mean, my bad. We need to get in the value response over here. Save. Okay, that's weird. Not sure why we are not able to see the correct details coming from the backend part. Let's do one thing. Let's try to reload the app or restart the app. Let's check it out once more, and furthermore we can try debugging if at all it's not working. Okay, I think I found the issue. I think I'm not even calling the function. That's the reason it's not working correctly. That is over here. So fetch data. I think this was the issue. So save. There you go. We do have the information coming. That was a mistake. I was just defining the function. I was not calling it out. Okay. So yes, with the help of this, we're gonna make use of the doctors array, and then we're gonna start styling it out. So instead of your return block, let's initialize, let's say, a flat list, and let's make use of the data. This is going to be equals to doctors, and here I'm going to say key extractor. You're taking your item, and I'm going to say item dot underscore id. Furthermore, I'm going to say render item, I mean outside of this block. So render item, taking your item, and here let's initialize a doctor card. So inside of your components, let's create a new component known as your doctor card. Okay, so yeah, let's create a new component, or let's create first of all a new folder. Let's say admin components. Here I'm going to say doctor card.js rnfes together Sujan code snippet. Save the file. Let's come back over here, and yeah, here I'm just going to pass in my doctor card, import that correctly, and to this I'm going to pass in my doctor as information. That's going to be item, and set doctors is going to be equals to set doctors. Okay, that's it. Let's format. Let's try to save the file. So as you can see, since we have one particular doctor card, we're able to see that onto the screen, which is good. Let's go back to your doctor card.js, and then let's start styling this out. So let's first of all destructure the values. That is going to be your doctor, as well as your set doctors. Alright, so here let's initialize our pressable. Import that from React Native. Save. Let's make use of your safe area view over here. So I'm going to say safe area view. So import that from your React Native as such. So let's come back to your doctor.js. So within your pressable, we're going to have initially your doctor image. So let's initialize image over here, which in turn is going to have your source and URI. It's going to be doctor.image URL. So I'm going to say doctor.image URL. Let's pass on the style for this. I'm going to say style over here. This in turn is going to have align self of center. So I'm going to say align self of center. Apart from that, height of 100, width of 100, border radius of 50. Then we're going to have margin bottom of 10. So save the file. So as you can see, it has a specific color over here, that is for the doctor card, and background color is different. Let's pass on the style for the pressable initially. Initially border width of 1, border color of this color code, that is DDD. Then border radius of let's say 10, some margin vertical as well of 10, some internal spacing, padding of 10. Let's try to format once. And furthermore, I'm going to give it a background color of white. Okay, and let's also provide some shadow color as well. So shadow color is going to be this one. Then furthermore, we're going to provide the shadow offset. This in turn is going to have width of let's say 0 and then a height of 2. Apart from that, I'm going to say shadow opacity. So I'm going to say shadow opacity is going to be equals to 0.2. Then we're going to have your shadow radius of 4. Elevation is going to be equals to 3. And then margin horizontal is going to be equals to 12. Okay, let's try to save the file. So as you can see, we're able to see that exact kind of card design which is being shown, which is looking good. So below your image, let's start initializing the next piece of design. So text over here, this in turn is going to show your doctor name. I'm going to say doctor.name. Save. As you can see, that's looking cool. So let's initialize the style over here. For the text, I'm going to say font size of 18 as well as font weight of bold. Color is going to be of this color code, that is 333, and margin bottom value of 5. Save. So yes, as you can see, that's looking nice. Below that, we're going to show your specialization. So let's initialize your text, and here I'm going to say doctor.specialization. Save. Yeah, so that's looking good. So let's pass on the style for this. This in turn is going to have font size of 14, color of this color code, that is 007 triple F, margin bottom of let's say 10. Let's try to save the file. So yes, as you can see, that's looking good. So below that, we're going to have the next piece of design coming up. Here I'm going to say text. This in turn is going to show the experience part. So within this, I'm going to have one more text. I'm going to say text over here. So this is going to say experience, and here I'm just going to enter a basic string, and after that I'm going to say doctor dot your experience in years. Save. As you can see, that's looking cool. So for the experience, let's add that colon over here. So for this particular style, I'm going to pass in, for this particular text, let's pass on the style. It's going to be font weight of bold. And for the outermost text, that's this one, I'm going to say style over here. It's going to have a font size of 14. And let's say color is going to be this one, 555, and then margin bottom of, let's say 5. Save. So yes, as you can see, that's looking good. So let's format once and initialize this text a couple of times for the remaining part of the design. So after experience, the next thing we have is for your education. So let's write that over here. So this is going to be doctor.study. Save. So as you can see, that's looking good. So apart from that, the next thing we have is for your clinics part. Okay, so let's write it down now. So as of now, as you can see, the clinics is not present, but let's style it out. So I'm going to say text over here. We're going to say clinics. Let's pass on the style for this. This in turn is going to have a font size of 14, and it's going to have a font weight of, let's say, bold. And apart from that, it's going to have a color of 333, and it's going to have a margin bottom value of 5. Save. Yeah, once when we initialize your clinics part, we're going to enter the details over here. So yes, apart from your experience, the next thing we have is your education. Yeah, education is done, I guess. Yeah, that's done. And yeah, instead of experience, we need to show your services part. So let's say services. So we're going to make a flat list over here to show the services. So I'm just going to paste in the code for that. So it's going to be doctor.services, and we're just going to show that particular item. Make sure to import flat list from React Native as such. Save. Okay, flat list doesn't exist. All right. Yeah, so there you go. We're able to see that being shown, that is the heart. So is this working absolutely fine? So we are able to style it in a simple way since this is the admin part. Okay, so we're able to add a doctor into the list, as well as we're able to fetch that particular doctor into the front end part as well, that is in your admin site. Okay, so let's press on back over here. So now the next step is we need to initialize an endpoint to add a clinic into the backend part. So clinic is going to be a bit tougher because we need to also configure your slots for each day, and if at all the admin presses on close for the day, then that means each slot would be empty. That is, morning slots would be empty, even afternoon as well as your evening slots will be empty. So the user has the rights to toggle each of the slots flexibly. That is, they can either close the morning slots, or they can either open up the afternoon slots, or even they can keep in the evening slots. They can do whatever they want, or they can close the clinic for the entire day by toggling this particular option. So yes, and also with the help of the search bar, once you start typing the clinic name, and once any kind of clinic is matched, we're going to make it the Google Places autocomplete, and for that particular clinic we're going to show all of the information. And once the user or the admin has added all of the slots for, let's say, 15 or 20 days, they can be able to add that particular clinic. So for a stretch of 15 days, the slots are filled. Okay, so we're going to implement it in that particular way. So let's first of all go back to the index.js file, or you can actually design the clinics as well. That is your design for the adding clinic, or you can actually, let's initialize the endpoint for adding a clinic to the backend part, that is over here. So here I'm going to say app.post. So it's going to be / add a clinic. So it's going to have in your async method with your request as well as the response in the callback. Here I'm going to initialize my try and then catch block. So try and then catch of error. Here I'm just going to log the error. So I'm going to say console.log error adding clinic. with that particular error. Okay, inside of your try block, let's get in the data. So I'm going to say const clinic data is going to be equals to your request dot body. So this is going to come from your front end part. So now the next step is we need to create a new clinic instance. So for that I'm going to say const new clinic is going to be equals to a new clinic of your clinic data. So now the next step is we just need to save the clinic to the backend part. So for that I'm just going to say await new clinic dot save. Okay, and yeah, furthermore I'm just going to say result dot status of 200 or 201 dot json with a message being clinic added successfully. You can actually send the clinic as well. I'm going to say clinic is going to be equals to new clinic. Yep, so that's it. Let's format once. So this is it. That is the endpoint for adding a new clinic to the backend part. So now the next step is let's also write the endpoint for getting all of your clinics. So here I'm going to say app.get. So it's going to be / clinics. So it's going to be super similar to the way we got all of the data for the doctor's part. So I'm going to say async method with the request and the response and the callback. Alright, so over here I'm going to initialize again my try as well as my catch block. So try catch. So here let's actually log the error. I'm going to say console.log error with that particular error message. Then let's also return the result. I'm going to say result dot status of 500 dot json with a message being failed to fetch clinics. And here let's pass in the error. That's going to be equals to your error dot message. So now instead of your try block, let's just access the clinics data. I'm going to say const clinics is going to be equals to await clinic dot apply the find method. Just pass in an empty object. This would give you all of the clinics data instead of your clinics collection from the backend part. Okay, so after that I'm going to say result the status of 200 dot json of your clinics. So yes, that's it. So this is the endpoint to get all of the clinics in the front end part or into your admin panel part. So let's try to save the file. So the next step is let's head back to our admin dashboard, and once you press on add a clinic button, you should be navigated to the clinics part. So yeah, let's look into that. Let's head back to our admin dashboard, that is this one. So for this particular pressable, let's initialize the on press, that is over here. So instead of add dog, it is going to say add clinic, that is the name of the screen. Save the file, let's press on it. So there you go, you're coming correctly to your add clinic screen. So now let's start designing your add clinic. So as I showed you the design last time, it's going to look something like this. So it's going to have initial search bar, and once the user types anything into the search bar, and we're going to implement the Google Places autocomplete as well. So if we get any kind of clinic nearby, you can add that, and once added, all the details would be shown. And after that, we need to configure the slots for the clinic. So for let's say 10 or 15 days at a stretch, and then we're gonna add the slots. So yeah, let's look into the design, and then let's start designing this. So yeah, initially let's look into the return block. That is some basic designs that are required. So yeah, let's come back over here and let's start initializing our safe area view. So I'm gonna say safe area view. Let's make use of that safe area view over here. Alright, so for this, let me give it a flex of 1 and then a BG of white. So I'm going to say background color is going to be white. Save. Alright, so now below this, I'm going to initialize my scroll view. So I'm going to say scroll view. Import that from React Native correctly. Within that, we're going to have that text which says add a clinic. So here I'm going to say text which says add a clinic. Okay. So now, yeah, below that, first let's save the file and let's start styling out the text. And below that, we're gonna have to install a dependency first to implement the Google Places autocomplete. So initially for the text, I'm gonna say text align of center. Okay, my bad, I'm giving it to the scroll view instead of the text. Alright, so apart from text align of center, let's pass on a font weight of bold, and furthermore I'm gonna give it a margin top of 15. So as you can see, that's looking nice. So now let's actually install that dependency, that is React Native Google Places autocomplete. So here I'm gonna say yarn add React Native Google Places autocomplete. Let's press on enter. To install this, we are also going to install this one as well, that is yarn add React Native get random values. So let's press on enter, and let's also make sure that we have installed moment into our main project. Yeah, so moment is not yet initialized, so let's initialize that. So here I'm just going to say yarn add moment. Yeah, so even that got initialized. Okay, so now yeah, let's just try to do a pod install one, since we have added few dependencies, and then let's try to reload the app. So here I'm just going to come to my iOS directory, and then I'm going to do a pod install, enter. Let's come back to the add clinic, and then we could actually start designing this out. So below your text, we're going to have your view. Within that view, we're going to have your Google Places autocomplete. So let's initialize the view over here. Let's press on I, and let's try to reload the app. So within this, I'm going to have my Google Places autocomplete. Alright, so for the view, I'm going to give this style, that is basically align items of center. And for the Google Places autocomplete, we need to show it in this particular format, that is with a let's initialize that. So here I'm going to say styles of, let's say, 10, and I'm going to give it, let's say, a width of 90%. Okay, so apart from width, I'm going to give it a border of, let's say, 25 or 26. Then I'm going to give it a border color as well. So border color of this color code, that is D0 D0 D0. And apart from border color, let's give in the border width. So border width 1, then margin top of 20. Alright, so apart from the container, we're going to give it for your text input. So text input, so this is going to have a specific height of, let's say, 30. I'm going to say height of 30, and then we're going to have color of this color code, that is 5D 5D 5D. Then apart from color, we're going to have font size of 16, and we're going to have a border radius of 24. Then finally, for your text input container, let's pass on the style. I'm going to say text input container. I'm going to give it a border radius of 20. Let's initially format one, save the file. Let's press on add a clinic. Okay, Google Places autocomplete doesn't exist, so let's try to import that at the top. Apart from that, we also need to import React Native get random values. Save the file. Now let's give this a try. Add a clinic. Okay, so still it's giving that error, Google Places autocomplete doesn't exist. Okay, I think there is a spelling error, I guess. Okay, now let's try to save the file. Add a clinic. Yeah, so there you go. We're able to see our design, which is almost exactly the same as this one. Let's try to give in some padding over here. Let's see if that works. Padding of 12. Yeah, 12 is huge. 10 or 8. Yeah, I think padding of 7 looks good. So apart from that, the next one we're going to give is your fetch details. Yeah, I think that's already given. The next step is you're going to have on press. Let's try that over here itself, or below this, the styles. I'm going to say on press. That is, once you start typing in the input field, you would get the suggestions, and once you press on that, this on press is going to get triggered off. So for that reason, I'm going to take in my data as well as my details, initially pointing it to be null. Okay, so here I'm going to check if at all we do have our details present. Then in that case, I'm going to say const place id. So for every place there would be a place id that is in your Google Maps as well. So we're going to make use of that, and then we're going to fetch the details of that particular place. So I'm going to say it's going to be equals to details dot place underscore id. So now the next step is we need to fetch some additional details based on this particular place id. So for that I'm going to say fetch place details of your place id. Alright, so this is correct for your on-press. This is the code as of now. And the next step is we need to enter your query, where we need to pass in your API key. So you can actually create a API key in Google, in Google Cloud, that is by creating a new project, and you can create your own API key, and make sure you enable few APIs like Google Places autocomplete, distance matrix API, and some other APIs as well, so that you would get access to all of the places that we search for. And also make sure you have a billing account present for this particular key that you create. Okay, so let's initialize our query over here. I'm just going to get in my query and then paste in my API key, and I'm going to pass in languages English, and then I'm going to close that field. Alright, so just pasted in my API key over here. So it's going to look something like this: query, and you can pass in your key. So in this particular place, just passing your key, and I'm going to say language is going to be equals to English, just the code of the language. So just type in en over here, and then you can close it. Okay, so yeah, that's my API key. I've just pasted it over here. So now the next step is we need to define that function, which is fetch place details. So let's go at the top, and then let's try to define that function. I'm going to say const fetch place details is going to be equals to async. It's going to take in your place id. So here again I'm going to initialize my API key. So I'm going to say const API underscore key is going to be equals to some value, that is I'm going to paste it in just a bit. Here let's initialize our try, and then catch block. So catch of error, I'm just going to say console.log error fetching place details with that particular error message. Instead of your try block, I'm going to initialize my URL initially. So this is basically your URL. You can pause for a second, and then you can look into this. Alright, so apart from this one, that is after initializing your URL, I'm going to initialize my response. I'm going to say const response is going to be equals to await axios dot get of your URL, and let's extract the details over here. I'm going to say details is going to be equals to response dot data dot result. You can actually try to console.log the response, and then you can find out how exactly to access the details over here. So to access that, it's going to be equals to response dot data dot result. Furthermore, I'm going to initialize my place data over here. I'm going to say const place data is going to be equals to name, that is the name of the clinic. It's going to be equals to details dot name. Then we're going to have your phone number of the clinic. So phone number is going to be equals to details dot formatted underscore phone underscore number. So apart from that, we're going to have the website. So for some clinics, they might have the website, and for some they do not have the website. So I'm going to say details dot your website. And furthermore, we're going to have your opening hours. This in turn is going to be equals to details dot opening underscore hours dot your weekdays underscore text. So apart from your opening hours, we are going to have the next one, that's going to be for your photos. So I'm just going to paste in the link for the photos, so you can go through that. So we're going to say details.photos.map. For every photo, we are going to convert it into this particular format. So you can actually take a look at the entire link for once. Yeah, so apart from your photos, the next one we have is for your reviews. Okay, so it's going to be equals to details dot reviews dot map, and for every review we are interested in these three things. That is the author name, that is the person who has submitted the review. That's going to be equals to review dot author underscore name. Then the rating for that particular clinic, I'm going to say review dot rating. Below that we're going to have your text, which is going to say review dot text. Okay, so that's it about your reviews part. Further, the next one is going to be types. That's going to be equals to details dot types. Formatted address is going to be equals to details dot your formatted underscore address. The next one is going to be a brief description. I'm going to say brief, brief description is going to be equals to if my details dot editorial summary is present. So editorial summary dot overview, or it can be also equal to details dot your reviews of the first review dot text. If even this is not present, you can just pass in a hard-coded text saying that no description is found for this place. Okay, so apart from your brief description, the next one is your geometry. So I'm just going to paste in the code for that. So let's initialize it over here. So you can take a look at the geometry as well. Format once. So yes, apart from that, let's try to initialize some state to hold the places data. So let's scroll up a bit, and then over here I'm going to say const places data comma set places data is going to be equals to use state. Initially it will be pointing to null. And let's also initialize our navigation. I'm going to say const navigation is going to be equals to use navigation, and make sure to import use navigation from the React navigation. And once we have gotten all of the places, let's just try to set it over here. I'm going to say set places to be of your places data. Okay, so that's it. So let's try to save the file. Okay, use state doesn't exist. All right, let's import that use state, and I'm going to enter my key over here. So it's actually important to enter it in a .env file, but while I deploy the code in the description, this would be disabled, so it wouldn't work anyhow. So I've just pasted it over here for now. Let's format once. Let's try to save the file. Let's press on add a clinic, and yeah, let's try to give it a try. Hopefully we should be able to see the Google Places autocomplete being working fine. Let's also try to log the data. I'm going to say console.log data and then places data. Save. Let's try to search something in the search bar. For example, any clinic that's near your place. So I'm going to say Aster CMI. So as you can see, there is a hospital known as Aster CMI Hospital near my place. So as soon as I search for Aster CMI, I'm able to see that particular clinic being shown onto the search bar. So once I press on any of the suggestion, we do have your on press being initialized. Automatically we need to call the function that is fetch place details, and we should be able to get the data. Let's give that a try. I'm going to press on Aster CMI. Okay, so for some reason the data is null. So let's look into that. Let's actually try to log. Okay, there is some issue over here. Yeah, it should be place data, not places data. Or we can actually change the name in the function itself. I mean, not in the function, the data. That is this data I'm talking about. Currently this value is not taken, so I'm just going to say place data. Save. Okay, so now let's give this one more try. We should be able to see that coming. Cancel this. Let's enter that again. Aster CMI Hospital. So there you go. Automatically we have all of the information. So this is all of your information coming from the Google API. So we do have your reviews, your images, all these are images, your phone number, the days open, that is your opening hours, as you can see, and pretty much all of the details that we have mentioned it over here. So now let's look into the design of this part, that is, yeah, this one. That is, once when we write some input in the search field, and once when we press on it, if at all we do get the data, we need to start styling it out. Okay, so let's look into that. So that is going to happen inside of your return block. So let's start designing that. So just below your code, that is your view, which contains your search bar, that is Google Places autocomplete. I'm going to check the condition that if at all my places data is present, and I'm going to initialize my view over here. Within this view, initially we're going to have a text. It's going to show the name of the clinic or the hospital. So I'm going to say places data dot name. Save. As you can see, Astor CMI hospital, we're able to see that onto the screen. So let's initialize our view over here. I'm going to say style. So initially padding of 10, furthermore background color of white, and we're going to have border radius of 8. Save the file, and we're going to have the style given to the text as well. So for this, I'm going to give it font size 16 and then a font weight of bold. Then we're going to have margin bottom of 5, and then we're going to have a text align of center. Let's format once. So as you can see, that is looking good. So yes, below that we're going to have another view that is below this particular text. So I'm going to say view over here. I'm just going to use my fragments. So here I'm going to say if my places data dot phone number is present, and then only I'm going to initialize this particular view, because for some clinics or for some hospitals there won't be any kind of phone numbers added. So here I'm going to initialize the view. It's already initialized. Within that we're going to have your and design icons. This in turn is going to have, I think it's a wrong spelling, and design. Yeah, the name initially, that's going to be phone, and we're going to have size, that's going to be equals to 23. Then the color, it's going to be equal to this one, that is 2A 52, and then BE. And apart from this, you're going to have the text as well. So I'm going to say text over here. This is going to show your places data dot your phone number. Save the file. Okay, and design doesn't exist. All right, let's import that. That is over here. I'm going to say and design, and even over here and design. Save. Let's press over here. Let's search for the same hospital. I'm going to say Astor CMI hospital. So there you go. This hospital has added the number, so for that reason we're able to see that onto the screen, right? So let's come down and then let's style it out. So for the view, let's pass on the style. So I'm going to say style over here. This in turn is going to have some margin horizontal of, let's say, 8, and margin bottom of 6. We're going to give it a flex direction row, and we're going to give it align items of center. Let's format once, and apart from align items of center, we're going to give it a gap of 10. As you can see, that's looking good. So for your text, we're going to pass on the style. I'm going to say style over here. This in turn is going to have a font size of, let's say, 14, font weight of 500, and we're going to have a color of this color code, that is 4861, then D1. As you can see, that's looking good. And yeah, for this, let's provide a margin top. It's almost touching the top text. Let's say margin top of 12 or 10. Yeah, 10 looks good. All right, that is done for the number. So the next part is for your website. So let's write in the condition. It's going to be similar itself. I'm just going to copy this down and make the changes for the string values. So I'm going to check if my places data dot website is present, then only go and show this particular design. So here within the text, it's going to be equals to places data dot website. Save the file. So as you can see, even this hospital does have the website present of their own. So that's the reason we're able to see that onto the screen. Let's change the icon. It's going to be your iron icons, and the name is going to be equals to earth. So let's make sure we import iron icons over here. So I'm going to say iron icons. Here let's make the change for the icon family. It's going to be iron icons. Save. So there you go, that's looking good. So now apart from your website, the next thing is for your formatted address. That's what is being shown over here. Let's design that. So let's scroll down. Let's initialize this one more time and make the change for the string values. So here I'm going to say if my places data dot formatted address is present. So I'm going to say formatted address, then only go ahead and then show this particular design. Here let's make the change. It's going to be equals to places data dot formatted address. As you can see, this is the address, that is New Airport Road, Shakar Nagar, and then Sanjeevani Nagar, and then Bangalore. Alright, that's looking correctly fine. Let's change the icon. It's going to be your end typo icon this time. So I'm going to say import end typo and change the icon family. Let's change it over here as well. The name of the icon is going to be location icon. Save. Yeah, so that's looking good. So now the next step is, after that we're going to have the next one being shown. That is basically your types. Okay, so let's initialize the same piece of design. So here I'm going to say, so here basically we're going to say if at all our places data dot types is present, then we're going to say view. Inside that view we're going to map over those types. Okay, here I'm going to say places data dot types dot map. So for every item as well as index, let's try to return a view. And within this view we're going to have a text. This basically shows your item over here. Save the file. As you can see, this particular clinic had few types being added. That is hospital, health, point of interest, and then establishment. So let's style it out initially. So for the view we're going to have margin horizontal of 8. That's correct. Margin top of let's say 14 or 13, then margin bottom of 6, then flex of row, align item to center, gap of 10, and then flex wrap of wrap. So I'm going to say flex wrap of wrap. So yes, that's it for the view. Let's pass on the style over here. This in turn is going to have some padding horizontal of let's say 10, and then padding vertical of 7. Furthermore, we're going to give it some border radius. So border radius of 23. Then we're going to have BG color as well. So background color of this color code, that is 4861D1. Save. As you can see, automatically it's looking really good. Let's start styling out our text over here and give it some white color. I'm going to say text align of center initially. So text align center, color is going to be equals to white. Then we're going to give it font size of let's say 13. Then we're going to give it font weight of 500. Okay, so as you can see, the design is looking even more better now. That part is done. So now the final part is to show all of your photos. So let's initialize this over here. Yeah, so here we're going to check if at all our places data dot photos is present of that particular clinic or hospital. Then within that, let's remove everything as of now. I'm going to initialize a view. Within this, we're going to have a flat list being shown. Import flat list from React Native as such. So data is going to be equals to, let's say, places data dot photos dot apply your slice method. So basically, I think this particular one would give, I think, 10 photos, but we're only interested in let's say 6 photos. So I'm just going to say slice from 0 to 6. Let's format once. So let's also pass in the next one, that is number of columns, that is going to be equals to 3. Furthermore, let's initialize our key extractor. That's going to be equals to item comma index. I'm just going to say index dot toString. Now let's initialize our render item method. Here I'm going to say render item is going to be equals to, let's destructure your item, and here let's just render a image tag. This in turn is going to take in your source, which in turn is going to take in your URI, that is the link. It's going to be equals to item itself. Let's pass on the style over here. I'm going to say style width is going to be equals to 30%, and I'm going to give it height of 80, and I'm going to give it, let's say, margin, some external spacing of 5, and then border radius of 8. Format once. Import flat list, that's already imported. Import image as well. Let's try to save. So as you can see, automatically we are able to see all of the 6 images for this particular hospital, which is looking good. So yeah, that's it. So now the next step is we need to design the slots part for each hospital. So let's look into that. So after over here, that is after your view, I'm going to initialize a text which says configure slots for clinic. Save. Okay, that's looking good. Let's pass on the style over here. Let's initialize text align of center. Furthermore, font weight of bold, margin top of, let's say, 15, and I'm gonna give it a font size of 18. Save the file. Okay, so now let's start looking into how exactly we're gonna configure the slots. So for that, first of all, we need to initialize or do some functionality that is related to the states part, that is to show all of these horizontal list of dates, and once the admin or user presses on each date, we need to show each slot over there. Okay, so for that, let's actually initialize some code. So let's come back over here. Let's initialize some state to implement this. So I'm going to say const let's say initially we need access to your selected day. I'm going to say const selected day comma set selected day is going to be equals to use state, and let's say initially it would be pointing to moment itself, that's the current date. Import moment from moment over here. Okay, so we also do need access to your day slots, so let's initialize that as well. I'm going to say const day slots comma set day slots is going to be equals to use state, and initially an empty object. So furthermore, I'm going to initialize my toggle visibility. So as you can see over here, the next screenshot, so we do have toggles for all of the 4 things, that is if at all it's closed for the day, and for all of the morning slots, afternoon slots, as well as the evening slots, we have the toggle being shown. So here I'm going to say const toggle visibility comma set toggle visibility is going to be equals to use state. It's going to be in the form of an object, and morning is going to be true. So by default all of the slots are going to remain true. The admin can toggle off as well. Okay, afternoon true, evening true. Let's format once. So now let's try to generate days for the next 20 days or the next 30 days, and that days are going to be shown in the horizontal fashion just like this. So let's say const days is going to be equal to, I'm going to make use of the array dot from method. Let's write that correctly, array dot from, pass in your length, that's going to be equals to 30. So length is 30. Apart from that, I'm going to also take in my index over here, and I'm going to use my moment. I'm going to say moment, use the add method with the help of index. I'm going to choose all of the days over here, pass in the days. You can actually try to log the data and just check out what exactly we are trying to get. So I'm going to say console.log days as well as your days. Save the file. Let's scroll down to the bottommost part. So there you go, we do have all of the days, that is starting from today till the next 30 days, because I've passed in 30 over here. Okay, so that's looking good. So now with the help of this, we're going to start styling it out. Let's come down to the point where we have text, that is configure slots for clinic. Below that, let's initialize our scroll view. Below this, I'm going to map over my days, that is the variable that we just initialized. Days.map for every day as well as your index. Let's initialize pressable. I'm going to say pressable over here, import pressable from React Native correctly. This in turn is just going to show the text. So I'm going to say day dot format it into this particular value, that is ddd comma month, then your day. Save the file. So as you can see, we do have all of the dates being shown from Sunday, that is 23rd of Feb, and second is basically your month, right? Yeah, second is basically month. I think it's better to show it in the form of string. Let's add in another m over here. Yeah, so as you can see, Feb 23rd Sunday till we have March 24th of Monday. That is for the next 30 days we have the days being shown, which is good. Let's start styling it out. So for the horizontal design, I'm going to say horizontal over here under the scroll view, and I'm going to say show horizontal scroll indicator, set it to be false, content container style, padding of 10. All right, that's looking cool. Let's initialize the design for the pressable now. Key is going to be equals to index. Furthermore, let's pass on style, padding of 10, margin right of 10, a border radius of 5. Furthermore, background color, if day dot is same, use that method, is same of your selected day. Selected day is already equals to moment, pass in your day over here. If this is true, then we're gonna have this color code, that is 6EB 4EE, else we're gonna have this color code, that's gonna be E0 E0 E0. Save the file. So as you can see, since we had today selected, that's today's the current day, so that's the reason this is automatically selected, and for other ones it is in a gray shade of color, which is looking fine. Let's pass on the style for your text now, that's over here. So I'm going to say style. So over here it's going to have again similar conditions. Let's copy that down. If your day dot is same, I think that's for your color, let's write it correctly. If this is the case, then question mark, pass in your color, that's going to be white, else it's going to be black. Save. As you can see, now that's looking good. Let's pass on your font weight now. Font weight is going to be 600. All right, that's looking good. So furthermore, the next step is we need to configure your slots. That is your morning slots, evening slots, as well as your afternoon slots. So for that, let's initialize the state initially at the top of the screen. That's going to be over here. I'm just going to paste in the code for that. So it's pretty much hard coded. Okay, so you can add in whatever slots you want to add over here. Okay, I've added 6 slots with 30 minutes of gap difference between each of them. For the morning slots, I've started from 10 a.m. You can start from before as well, and I've closed it at 12 p.m. And the afternoon slots is going to start from 12:30 and it's going to go till 3 p.m. And we also have another variable known as booked. By default, it's going to be false. Once when the user books it in the front end part, it's going to become true, and we're also going to store that in the backend as well. So furthermore, for the evening slots, it's going to start from 4:30 and it's going to end at 6:30. So basically, you can add in more time slots as much as you want, or you can even remove them as well as per as your likes. Okay. So currently, as of now, I've just added 6 slots for each of the type, that is morning, afternoon, as well as evening. So let's try to save the file. So below this, let's also initialize a state to check if at all clinic is closed or not. By default, it will be set to false. So let's come down over here. Here I'm going to say const closed comma set closed is going to be equals to use state. Initially it would be pointing to false over here. Let's try to save the file. So now let's start designing this. We do have access to this. So let's scroll down to the point where we have finished designing the scroll view, that is for the horizontal days. Now let's start designing the slots part. Just below your scroll view, I'm going to say scroll view over here. This in turn is going to have a view. Here I'm going to say text, which is going to say closed for the day. Save. As you can see, we're able to see that being shown onto the screen. Let's pass on the style over here. Padding of 12 or 15. Yeah, 15 looks good. So let's pass on the style for the text over here. So I'm going to say font size of 16 as well as font weight is going to be equals to 500. I'm going to say font weight is 500. Save the file. Okay, that's looking fine. So below that, we're going to have a switch. I'm going to say switch, make use of that from React Native. Its value is going to be equals to closed. By default, closed is false. Okay, and I'm going to say on value change. We're going to take, and I'm going to say set closed to be off. The opposite of closed. If it's true, make it false. If it's false, make it true. Okay, just the opposite value. That's it. Let's give it a format once. Furthermore, apart from this, we're gonna have the thumb color. So I'm gonna say thumb color over here. Right in the condition, if it's closed, then it's gonna be this color code. That is 007FFF. If it's not closed, it's gonna be hashtag CCC. Save the file. As you can see, let's try to toggle it. So once it's toggled on, it's going to come in this particular color, which is looking good, and toggle off in this particular color. So let's format once. Let's pass on the style for the view. I'm going to say style over here. So initially, I'm going to give it some flex of row and some align items of center, as well as justify content of space between, margin bottom as well of 20. Save. Alright, that's looking nice. As you can see, that's looking cool. So yeah, this part is done. So now the next step is we're gonna design the next part. So let's say if at all a particular admin or user presses on the toggle on, that is for close for the day, then if this is pressed, automatically we should not show any of the slots, that is either morning, afternoon or evening slots. Only if this is toggle off, then only we need to show all of the slots, right? So for that reason, let's write it in a conditional format saying that if at all not of closed, that means if closed is equals to false, then only show all of the slots over here. Let's initialize a fragment for now. This in turn is going to have a view. We're going to have another view over here with your text, which says morning slots. Save the file. So below that we're going to have a switch. I'm going to say switch again. So the value for this is going to be equals to, so remember we have already initialized the state for your toggle visibility for each of the type, that is morning, afternoon as well as evening. So the value for this is going to be equals to toggle visibility dot morning. Okay, so let's come back over here. I'm going to say toggle visibility dot your morning. So by default we have set it to be true, so automatically all the slots would be on for a particular clinic, that is by default. So let's press on save. As you can see, morning slots is automatically on, which is good. So furthermore, I'm going to say we need to define your on value change method. I'm going to say on value change. This in turn is going to take in a function, and over here I'm going to say set toggle visibility, take in the previous value whatever is present, and over here store the previous value, store that state as is, and for morning, and let's change the value over here. It's going to be equals to morning, so it's just going to be equals to the opposite of previous dot morning, not just morning. So if it's true, make it false. If it's false, make it true. Format once, save the file, and just below your view we're going to show the render slots. I'm going to say render slots for morning. Let's define that in just a bit. So before that, let's pass on the style for the view. I'm going to say style over here. This in turn is going to have some margin bottom of 20. Let's pass on the style for this particular view. Initially flex of row, flex direction row, align items of center, or we could remove that, directly justify of space between, because we want the switch to be pushed towards the rightmost part. That's the reason, justify content of space between, and then some padding bottom of 10. Okay, so for your text, let's pass on the style. It's going to have a font size of 16, and font weight is going to be bold. Okay, so it's pretty much that's it. And let's make the change for the thumb color over here. It's going to remain as is for this as well. Just copy that down and pass on the thumb color over here. So now let's define your render slots for morning. Let's go on to the top, and then over here let's say const render slots is going to be equals to, let's say, type. Here first of all we're going to say if at all your toggle is off, then we need to hide all of the slots. So I'm going to say if not of toggle visibility, so toggle visibility of type, then I'm just going to say return null. That's it. So type, in a sense, as of now type is going to be equals to morning. So based on whatever you render below that, let's say for afternoon as well as evening slots, so we do have the same type being passed over here. That is the same type value that is over here. So automatically if everything is false, it should return null. Okay, that's the reason we are checking the condition over there. Let's initialize a return block, pass on the view. Within the view I'm just going to say slots of type, because if you would remember, our slots is an array of objects, and currently as of now the type is going to be equals to morning, so we're going to only access this part now. Okay, let's start designing that. So I'm going to say slots of type dot map for every slot as well as index. Here let's try to render a view. So this view in turn is going to have your text. I'm going to say text over here. This is going to show your slot.time. Below that we're going to have X button. If you press on that, automatically the slot is going to get removed from that particular type, that is morning, afternoon or evening. Let's initialize pressable. Just add in a X, or add in a text with an X. I'm just going to get the style for that. So I'm just going to paste it in for the entire pressable over here. Okay, let's format once. Alright, so this is your condition for the X over here. So yes, that's it. Let's start styling it out. So for the view initially, I'm going to say style. This in turn is going to have a flex of row. So flex direction row, and then align items of center. Then furthermore, we're going to have some border width of 1, border color of this color code, that is 6CB. Then we're going to have 4EE. Then we're going to have some border radius as well. So border radius of 5, some internal spacing, padding of 10, and then some margin bottom value of 10. So let's format once. Yeah, so this is your style for the pressable. For the text, let's pass on the style. I'm going to say style over here. Here initially some font size of 14. Furthermore, margin right value of 10. And for this view, we're going to give it a flex wrap of wrap such that if the space completes over here, the next time slot is going to come to the next row and then take up the remaining space. So here I'm going to say style, pass on the flex of row. I'm going to say flex direction row, and then flex wrap of wrap. After that, I'm going to give it a gap of 10. Save the file. Okay, so for some reason not able to see the time being shown. Let's press on format once. Okay, so this is working fine. So as you can see, as soon as I close for the day, automatically all of the slots are being disappeared. If I toggle off, we're able to see that's working fine, but I'm not able to see the slots for the morning type. So here, alright, so we do have initialized the render slots over here at the bottom part. As you can see, there is this one, but not sure why we're not able to see that onto the screen. Alright, so the issue is basically over here because I've entered the wrong spelling by mistake. So if you would remember in the states, that is while configuring the slots, that is in the hard-coded values. As you can see, this is the string that is all small letters, that is morning. So we are mapping over here, whereas here I've passed in a capital M, but over here there is no value for a capital M, that is morning. So that's the reason it's not showing correctly. So just make that change. It should be small m, and we should be able to see that onto the screen. Save. As you can see, we do have everything being shown onto the screen. So now the next step is, let's define the function that is toggle slots removal. That is this one. Let's see over here. I'm going to say const toggle slot removal. This in turn is going to take in two things, that is your type as well as your time. So here I'm going to say set slots. So initially take in the previous value, whatever is present, store the previous value as is, and for the type that is coming from the parameter, that is if it's either morning, afternoon or evening, choose that array, and I'm going to say previous of type dot apply the filter method. So the slot, so for every slot, your slot should not be equals to time. Okay, so that's it. Let's format once. Let's try to save the file. Let's say I want to remove 12 p.m. because for some reason that slot is not available. I'm just going to press on cross. Automatically that slot is going to get removed from your morning slots. Okay, so that's looking fine. So now let's go on to the scroll view and then let's continue designing the remaining types, that is for your afternoon as well as for your evening. So let's scroll down, copy this down for at least 2 times. Let's make the change. This is going to say afternoon slots, and this is going to say your evening slots, and make the change over here. Just change the spelling. It's going to be evening. Make sure you enter the correct spelling, otherwise it won't show it on the UI. And even over here, this is going to be equals to afternoon. I'm going to say afternoon. Save. So as you can see, just like that, we're able to see all of the slots being configured. And once I toggle off, let's say for afternoon, only afternoon slots should not be shown. Oh, okay, everything is actually not being shown. Let's look into that. So Yeah, I think we need to change this as well. So for the on change value for each kind of switch that's present, we need to change the condition over here. Here it's going to be equals to evening. It's going to be equals to not of previous dot evening. Similarly for the second one, it is also in morning, I guess. Yeah, here it should be afternoon. That's for the second one, afternoon. It should be equals to not of previous dot afternoon. Save. Now let's only toggle off for afternoon. Only this particular slots should disappear off once I toggle off. As you can see, it's looking absolutely fine. I think there is an issue for this one. Even the slot, even this should be toggled off. So let's look into that. Okay, I think my bad, because I've just passed in the same value that is closed. So this closed value is only for this particular one that is closed for the day, whereas for each of them we can change it accordingly because we do have the states being initialized. So I'm going to say toggle visibility dot evening for this one. This is going to be equals to, instead of closed, toggle visibility dot afternoon, and this is going to be equals to toggle visibility dot morning. Now it should work everything as expected. So let's say I toggle off for afternoon. Okay, for some reason it's not toggling off, but this is working absolutely fine. So let's look into that. Let's check for morning. Okay, so morning is working fine. Okay, evening also there is an issue with the toggle. Yeah, but morning it's correctly looking fine. Let's look into that. So set toggle visibility. Okay, toggle visibility dot morning. Let's look into the state once if there is any issue. Afternoon and then evening. Okay, the spelling is correct itself. Let's do one thing. Let's actually initialize the code that's there for morning. Let's push it to the afternoon. Let's make the change. Here I'm going to say afternoon. This is going to be equals to previous dot afternoon. Save. Okay, so we do have some issue. Okay, I think the value is wrong. Okay, my bad, got it. So value needs to be changed. So this should be equals to toggle visibility dot afternoon. Same thing goes for this as well. Value toggle visibility dot evening. Yes, this was the issue. So yeah, now we should work. So now we should be able to make it work correctly fine. As you can see, morning is off, afternoon is off, evening is also off on everything, and close for the day, everything is off. As you can see, that's looking absolutely fine. So now below your scroll view, we're gonna have two buttons. First, you're gonna add slots for, let's say, 10-15 days. Then you're gonna add the clinic to the backend part. So below the scroll view, I'm gonna say pressable over here. This in turn is gonna have text being shown. Within this, I'm gonna say save slots. Okay. Okay, as you can see, we're able to see that onto the screen. Let's pass on the style for this. It's gonna have a background color of this color code, that is 007FFF. Furthermore, it's gonna have some padding of 12, margin horizontal as well of 10, and then margin top of 20, border radius of 4. Format, save. Okay, so as you can see, we do have that being shown onto the screen. Let's pass on the style for the text over here. Initially, text align of center. Apart from that, color is going to be white. After that, I'm going to say font size of 15. Then I'm going to give it a font weight of bold. So yes, that's looking good. So below your scroll view, I'm going to initialize my another design. That is, if at all my places data is present, and I'm going to say initialize a pressable over here. Within this, I'm going to have my text being shown which says add clinic. Okay, let's first of all design off the pressable. Here, background color, again it's going to have the same color itself, same shade, 077 and then FFF. Then let's give it some margin top of auto. Alright, margin bottom of, let's say, 30 or 20. or 25, some padding of 12, margin horizontal of 10, border radius of 4. Save. Okay, so since places data is not present, we are not able to see the button being shown. So let's pass on the style for the text. Again, it's going to be similar, text align of center. Then furthermore, color of white. Then I'm going to pass on, let's say, font size of 15. And I'm going to give it a font weight of bold. Save the file. So yeah, that's looking fine. So now let's first of all design the function for handle save slots. Okay, let's initialize on press over here. I'm going to say on press. Here I'm going to say handle save slots. Let's define this function at the top over here. Here I'm going to say const handle save slots is going to be equals to a normal arrow function. Here I'm going to check if at all a day is selected. Here I'm going to say if not of selected day. So the way you're going to add a slot is, first let's say this is by default selected because this is today. You're just going to choose your toggles, and then you're just going to press on save slots, and if it's closed for the day, automatically the slots array for this particular day would be equals to empty. Next, further on, you're going to move to the Monday. Okay, I think that is not yet done. We'll just do that in just a bit. So once you press on each day, we need to toggle that, right? So yeah, if not of selected day, I'm just going to say alert.alert. I'm going to say error. Here I'm going to say please select a day first. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to determine your day key. I'm going to say const day key is going to be equals to selected day. So here I'm just going to format it into this particular value. I'm going to say format, and it's going to be equals to day, month, and then year. So let's try to format the slots. I'm going to say const formatted slots is going to be equals to an object. I'm going to say morning. I'm going to say available. This value is going to be equals to toggle visibility dot morning. Based on whatever value the admin has selected, we do have that value stored in the state. So I'm just going to pass that over here, either true or false. So for that, I'm going to say toggle visibility dot morning. Next is your timings. That's going to be equals to toggle visibility dot morning. If it is true, then it's going to be slots dot morning. Else it is just going to be an empty array. Similarly for your afternoon, and similarly for your evening as well. Let's pass on that. I'm going to say afternoon. Here I'm going to say evening. So here let's make the change. If my toggle visibility dot afternoon, this is for your available, just to check if it's true or false. And for the timings, let's make the change. Again, if toggle visibility dot afternoon is present, then it's going to be equals to slots dot afternoon. Else it's going to remain an empty array itself. Let's make the final change for the evening part. I'm going to say evening. It's going to be timings. So for the timings, it's going to be equals to toggle visibility dot evening. Check that condition. If this is present, it's going to be equals to slots dot evening. Okay, that's it. So after that, the next step is we need to save the slots for that particular day. So now we're going to make use of that state which we initialized a couple of minutes back. That is your day slots. That is this one. By default, it's empty. Let's make use of that now. So just after the formatted slots, I'm just going to say set day slots to be of your previous, whatever is there initially. By default, it's going to be empty itself. Store the previous value. And here I'm going to say for your day key, the date is going to be equals to selected date dot to date. Make use of that method, and you're gonna add in all of your formatted slots for that particular day key. So that's it. Let's format once. And after that, we're going to alert the user saying that the slots have been added for that particular day. So for that, I'm going to say alert dot alert. I'm going to say success. I think I'm writing it in the wrong function. Yeah, I think this is the one. Format once initially. Yeah, alert dot alert. I'm going to say success. So the slots for, let's make use of backticks over here for the second string. I'm going to say slots for your selected day dot format it into this particular value, that is ddt month as well as your day have been saved. Okay, that's it. Let's try to format once and let's try to save the file. So now the next step is, let's look into this issue. It's not yet fixed. So once I press on any of the day, that particular day should be currently selected. So let's just scroll down to the point where we have the initial scroll view, where we're going to show the horizontal fashion of all of the days, right? That is this one. Pass on press, take in a function and just say set selected day to be of the day. That's it. Save. Let's give this a try. Okay, set selected doesn't exist. Okay, set selected day, that's the correct string name. As you can see, now it's working absolutely fine. So you're able to see this as well. Let's try to press on save slots. So there you go, success. Slots for Sunday, February 23rd have been saved. Let's say we go to Monday. I'm going to say save slots. As you can see, success. Slots for Monday, February 24th have been saved. This is working absolutely fine. Now let's look into the final part, that is to add a clinic to the backend part. Okay, so for that, let's actually go down to the point where we have the condition being written. That is this one. Here I'm going to initialize my function. So I'm going to say on press. I'm just going to say handle add clinic. So let's go on to the top and then let's try to define this particular function, that is handle add clinic. So I'm just going to go over here. Let's say over here itself. So const handle add clinic is going to be equals to a async function. And over here, let's try to first of all check if at all there is no places data present. Automatically just try to return off from the function. If no places data, I'm going to say alert dot alert error, no clinic data available. And then I'm just going to say return from the function. Then furthermore, we're going to check one more condition, that is ensure that there are slots for each selected day. Okay, so here I'm going to say if not of object dot, let's say keys of your day slot dot length, then in this case I'm just going to say return again from the function. Let's format once. So the next step is we need to prepare the clinic data with the saved slots for each day, right? So I'm going to say const week slots is going to be equals to, I'm going to make this my object dot entries method, and here I'm going to access my day slots. That's where the data is present. So I'm going to say day slots dot map. So for every, let's say, day as well as your slot data. So here I'm just going to say get in the day and your date, that's going to be equals to slot data dot your date. Furthermore, we're going to have your morning slots. I'm going to say morning, that's going to be equals to slot data dot morning. So slot data dot your morning, and we're going to have your afternoon as well. So afternoon is going to be equals to slot data dot afternoon. Then we're going to have your evening, that's going to be equals to slot data dot your evening. Then we're going to have is closed value as well. I'm going to say is closed slot data dot is closed. Okay, that's it. So the next step is we need to add the saved slots to the clinic data. We're just going to merge both of them. So I'm going to say const clinic data is going to be equals to whatever is there inside of your places data as well as include your slots. Slots is going to be equals to week slots. That's it. So now let's initialize our try catch block over here. I'm going to say try as well as catch of error. Here I'm going to initialize my response. Before that, let's finish writing the catch block. Error with that particular error message. Instead of your try block, let me initialize my response. I'm going to say const response is going to be equals to await. I'm going to say axios dot post method. This in turn is going to take in your URL, that is http localhost 8000 / add clinic. Okay, so here this in turn is going to take in your clinic data. Let's check the condition over here, that is if your response dot status is going to be equals to 201. Okay, I think I'm writing it in the wrong part, so let's remove that. This should come below the bracket. Yeah, so if response or status is going to be equals to 201, then I'm going to say alert dot alert success. I'm just going to say clinic added successfully, and I'm just going to say navigation dot go back. Let's format once. Let's try to save the file. Okay, so that's it. So this is your entire code for adding a clinic to the backend part. Let's try to include an hospital, and then let's try to add a clinic and store it in the backend as well. I'm just going to enter the same name. So let's say Asta CMI hospital. So as you can see, now we do have that add clinic, but before that we need to add all of the slots. Okay, so I think we've already added 2 slots. So let's try to reload the app once, and let's try it out from the beginning. Let's initially add the hospital. I'm going to say Asta CMI hospital, this one. Alright, we're able to see both of them. Let's press on the slots, save slots. Okay, Monday, let's say okay. For Tuesday, okay. I'm just not changing any of the slots as of now. You can change it, and you should be able to see the value being reflected in the array. So for Wednesday, save slots. Alright, let's say for Thursday, okay. Friday also okay. Let's say Saturday 1st of March, save. Then let's say Sunday March 2nd, save. Monday, save. Now let's try to press on add clinic button. So if all we have done everything correctly, we need to add the clinic to the backend part, and we need to automatically navigate back to the previous screen. So let's look into this. I'm just going to press on add clinic. So there you go, success, clinic added successfully, and we came back automatically to the back screen, which is looking good. So yes, this is a good kind of progress that we have made. So we're able to add doctors, we're able to see the doctors, we're able to add a clinic with all of the required information that a clinic needs to have, that is slots for the clinic, the required information for the clinic, and all the other details as well. Let's go verify it in the backend, that is if all the clinics have been added or not. So let's say I'm going to go over here. Let's try to reload the app once. So again, let's move on to browse collections, and let's check out the clinics. The first clinic should have been added over here. So there you go, we do have all of the information for the first clinic, the name of the hospital or the clinic, the phone number, the website, the opening hours of the clinic, the photos, the reviews as well. Apart from that, we have the types, the formatted address, the brief description, the geometry of the clinic, that is the location, as well as you can see, the slots have been added. So there you go, each slot is an array of objects, and over here each object is going to have the day, that is 23rd Feb 2025, the date as well, and there you go, we have the morning, afternoon, evening slots, and is closed as false because by default I just pressed on OK for each of the day. And if you just check out the morning type, as you can see, available is true, and we do have all of the timings for morning. Again, we do have an object within which shows booked as false, and then time is going to be all the time that we have, and time is going to be 10 over here. Similarly, we have all of the time slots that were present in that particular array. As you can see, 10:30, 11 a.m. and by default booked as false. So there you go. This is a good progress that we have done at this point of time. So we are able to add the clinic into the backend part. So now the next step is similarly how we showed the doctors. That is, once when we pressed on the doctors part, we're going to do the same thing once when we press on the clinics. We're going to get all of the clinics and then we're going to show it into the front end part or in the admin side part. So now I'm just going to head over to my admin dashboard part, and over here I'm just going to initialize on press and then navigate to the clinics part. That is for this one. Instead of doctors, here I'm just going to say clinics. Save the file. Let's press on this. Okay, so I think I need to check the screen name, whatever was it. I mean, whatever we had given. Okay, I think I need to check the screen name because it's giving error for that. So I think it is going to be equals to clinics itself. Not sure why it is erroring out. Let's check out the stack navigator once. So okay, wrong spelling of clinics. So clinics, safe. Now it should work correctly. Fine. Let's look into the design of the clinics part. It's going to be super similar. Just show all of the details as is, since this is just an admin part. Okay. So now let's come back to your clinics.js file. That is over here. Let's try to initialize the state. Initially, I'm going to say const clinics, comma set clinics is going to be equals to use state. Initially, it would be pointing to an empty array over here. Let's initialize the use effect and fetch all of our clinics. Here I'm going to say const fetch data is going to be equals to async function. I'm going to say const clinics data is going to be equals to await fetch clinic and just say set clinics to be of your clinics data. Let's call the function over here. Last time I had missed that, so that's the reason we were not able to see the data being correctly shown. Now let's define the function that is fetch clinics over here. I'm going to say const fetch clinics is going to be equals to an async function. Here let's initialize our try as well as our catch block. So initially catch of error, and let's try to log the error. I'm going to say console.log error fetching clinics with that particular error, and then just return an empty array. Just like this. And within your try, okay, let's write that correctly. Within your try block, let's start writing the code. I'm going to say const response is going to be equals to await Axios, import Axios from Axios dot get method. This is going to be your URL http localhost 8000 / clinics. Okay, so yeah, furthermore I'm going to check if my response dot status is going to be equals to 200. So here I'm going to say return response dot data dot clinics. That's how we return it, and this value would be stored inside of clinics data because we're returning from this function, right? So automatically we are going to set the clinics. So that's how it is going to work. Else I'm going to say console.log failed to fetch clinics, and here I'm just going to say return an empty array again. So yeah, that's it. Let's try to log the clinics over here. Here I'm going to say console.log data and then clinics. Also let me write one more piece of code over here. At the top I'm going to say if my clinics.length is going to be equals to 0. Then I'm just going to say return. I'm going to have a view being initialized. Within the view, I'm going to have a text being shown. I'm just going to show a hard-coded text saying that no clinics are visible or no clinics are available. Save. Use state and use effect doesn't exist. Okay, so use state as well as use effect. Alright, so now the next step is, yeah, let's first of all style this quickly. So I'm going to say style, give it a flex of 1. Flex of 1. Then apart from that, I'm going to say justify content of center. And then align items of center as well. So align items center. Then, yeah, that's it. For the text, let's pass on the style. Let's say text align of center. Font size of 16. Color of 555. Save. Let's make use of your safe area view over here. So I'm going to say safe area view. Let's pass on the style over here. Give it a flex of 1 and then give it a background color as well of this color code. So bg color. F5, F5, F5. This should be hashtag. Okay, so apart from that, give it a padding of 10. Save. Safe area view doesn't exist. Okay, let's import that. Yeah, so now let's make use of the flat list and then let's try to show our clinic that is present in the backend part. So I'm going to say flat list, import that from React Native correctly. So the data, it's going to take in clinics. Then we're going to have your key extractor. So I'm going to say key extractor. For every item, it's just going to be equals to item dot underscore ID. Then we're going to have your render item method. I'm going to say render item. This in turn is going to take in your item, destructure that. First of all, let me create a new component in the admin components folder. That's going to be equals to clinic card .js rnfes to get the Sujan code snippet. Save the file. Let's come back over here, and for every item, I'm just going to say render the card. That is your clinic card. So clinic card. For this, I'm just going to pass in the clinic itself. So clinic is going to be equals to your item. Let's format once. Let's try to import clinic card from the admin components folder. So let's import that over here. Save. So as you can see, since we had one clinic present in the backend part, we're able to see that particular clinic card being rendered onto the screen, which is good. So now let's start, styling this out. It's going to remain simple itself. So let's quickly start styling this. So let's, get in all of the details. Let's first of all destructure the props. Taking the clinic. Here I'm going to say const name, comma phone number, comma your website, comma your opening hours. I don't think that's required. Formatted address, comma your photos is going to be equals to your clinic. Okay, let's initialize the view. Within the view, we're going to have your image being shown. So I'm just going to get the link for the image and then I'm going to paste it over here. So this is basically your image. Let's import image from React Native. Save the file. As you can see, this is the image of the hospital. That's looking good. Below the image, we're going to show the clinic name. So initialize the text. This in turn is going to say name. Save. As you can see, Asta CMI hospital. That's looking good. Pass on the style over here. This in turn is going to have a font size of, let's say, 14 and font weight of, bold. Color is going to be of this color code, and furthermore we're going to say margin bottom of, let's say, 5. Save. As you can see, that's looking nice. So below the text, we're going to have the next one. That is going to be your another text that's going to show your phone number. So here I'm going to say again another text within this. So this is going to say phone, and this is going to display your phone number. So for this text, let's pass on the style. This in turn is going to have a font weight of bold. And for the outer text, let's give the style. Initially font size of 14. And it's going to have, let's say, color of this color code, that is 007 triple F, some margin bottom value of, let's say, 10, and margin top of 4. Save. As you can see, that's looking good. Let's format once. So similarly, I'm going to show the formatted address. So I think initially the formatted address, then your phone number, then your next part is going to come up. Okay. So here I'm going to say address. This is going to be your formatted address. Let's pass on that value. Save. As you can see, that's looking good. So yeah, below that, let's pass on the final one. That is going to be there for your website part. Okay, so I'm going to say website over here, and this is going to be your website. Yep, so that's looking good. Let's go on to the top view and then style out the parent container. That's this one. This in turn is going to have some border width. I'm going to say border width of 1. Then border color of this color code, that is DDD. Furthermore, I'm going to pass on border radius of 10, margin vertical of 10, padding of 10 as well, then BG color of triple F. Apart from that, we're going to have some shadow color as well. So I'm going to say shadow color 000. Then we're going to provide some shadow offset property, which is going to include your width and height. I'm going to say shadow offset. I'm going to pass on width of 0, and then I'm going to give it a height of 2. Apart from that, I'm going to give it some shadow opacity. Let's say 0.2 for now. Then shadow radius as well, 4, and then elevation of 2. Save. As you can see, just like that, our design is looking good. I think we need to provide some margin as well to this. I'm going to say margin of 10. So yeah, that's looking clean. So yeah, this is your entire card for your clinic. I think border radius is already given. Yeah, it's given border radius of 10. Yeah, so we're able to add a clinic to the backend, fetch all of the clinics, and then show it over here. And we're also able to add a doctor as well as fetch that particular doctor and then show it into the front end part or into the admin panel. So for now, I've just added one doctor as well as one clinic, as you can see over here, just to show how exactly your admin panel is going to work like. So based on how many of doctors we've added over here and how many of clinics we've added over here, all these data would be useful while we implement the user part of the screens. Okay, so I think that's it about the initial video, that is this part of the video where we have just implemented a simple kind of admin panel where we are able to add a doctor, add a clinic, as well as show the doctors as well as show the clinics. So we would implement the appointments part once when the user books the appointment with a specific doctor as well as with a specific clinic in the backend part. So yes, I think that's it about this video. So in the next video, we would focus on designing the front end part, that is the user screens, that is all of your screens where the user can select the time slot, the user can choose a doctor, the user can set a location, or the user can even choose or select different kinds of categories and then consult a doctor. So based on all of these conditions, we're going to design a bunch of screens in the front end part, that is for the user part. So yeah, all of these screens are going to come in the next part of the video. So yes, I think that's it about this video. So let's see you in the next video, and then thank you for watching.